Family owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. KoleDigital.com. That's KOLE Digital.com. Or call 815-469-2000 and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal. But if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal locally.
Scott Jennings fearlessly fights back against the mainstream media on the Scott Jennings podcast.
The Supreme Court's decision striking down racial gerrymandering. The Supreme Court said enough is enough, and in this ruling, the justices raised the bar. They said if you want to challenge a map as discriminatory, you now have to prove actual intent, not just point to statistical disparities.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a shower in some areas this morning, then becoming partly sunny and breezy with a high of 72. Tonight will be mainly clear, but a thunderstorm may develop late with a low of 60. Tomorrow will be warmer with a mix of clouds and sunshine, along with a chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon, reaching a high of 85. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and the Trump-Xi summit has come to its conclusion, and the two seem to have gotten along famously. Here was Trump's summary of the talks, sitting side by side with Xi.
Visit. I think a lot of good has come of it. We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. He's a man I respect greatly, become really a friend. We've known each other now 11 years, almost 12 years. It's a long time. And we've settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to settle. And the relationship is a very strong one. We've really done some wonderful things, I believe. We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open. We're closing it now. They closed it, then we closed it on top of them. But we want the straits open, and we want them to get it ended because it's a crazy thing. They're a little bit crazy, and that's no good. Can't have it. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. But we discussed a lot of other things also, and I think we're very much on agreement.
Well, there's a few things here on the business side. You had China reportedly committing to buy more soybeans, to buy more energy from America. You don't want to be so reliant on Iran. Like to see the strait reopened, as you heard the president say, but don't want to be so reliant on Iran, and so going to start buying from America, said the president, both oil as well as liquefied natural gas, 200 Boeing jets. But just back to the energy piece.
He's not coming in with guns. He's not coming in with rifles. They're not coming in shooting. You know,
influence.
Somebody said he's been very good. They get a lot of their oil, 40% of their oil from that location. So what has happened, and one thing I think that we're going to make a deal on, they've agreed they want to buy oil from the United States. They're going to go to Texas. We're going to start sending Chinese ships to Texas and to Louisiana and to Alaska. And I think that was another thing that was agreed to. That's a big thing.
What about liquefied natural gas?
It's not that much longer.
Gas, too?
Yeah, everything. Energy.
Energy.
That's the one thing. They really need energy. That's the one thing. They have an insatiable appetite for energy, and we have unlimited energy.
Of course, that was Trump in his sit-down with Sean Hannity post-Xi to give the post-mortem. So trade deals and security matters. Trade deals and security matters. Those were the two general topics of conversation as anticipated. A little bit of those details on trade. Also, this is a little bit more controversial. The United States has cleared NVIDIA to sell advanced chips to 10 Chinese firms. And when you hear the term Chinese firms, you have to add communist to that description. 10 Chinese communist firms, because all things run through the state in China, as we know. And Jensen Huang was there as part of that delegation of 30 top business leaders, the CEO of NVIDIA. But, of course, this is a little bit more controversial given the fact that, yes, we're trading partners. At the same time, we're adversaries. And once you set aside the pleasantries and the platitudes and the tours of all the wonders of Beijing, there's still some real disagreements, and there should be a retained understanding that the Chinese Communist Party and the communist thug dictator Xi are just that, communist thugs. 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com call-in and text line. On Iran, again, this is from the wide-ranging interview with Sean Hannity that the president did post-summit. Trump had this to say about his impressions from his conversations with Xi, as he sort of telegraphed in that summary that, they don't want Iran to get nukes. They want the Strait reopened. And she's offering to help.
She would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer. He said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because,
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I could be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
And he also believes, as I mentioned, that China doesn't support a nuclear Iran. I mean, in other words, Iran with nuclear weapons.
The support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
We discussed it. When you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that. I don't think China wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon either. I said, they're stone cold crazy. You don't need them having a nuclear weapon either.
What did he say?
Well, he's not going to respond too much. He's a pretty cool guy. He's not going to say, "Oh, gee, that's a good point."
I think he might.
What a wonderful point.
You think he agreed?
Yeah, I think
that was the impression.
I don't think he wants them to. No, he would like to see it end, but he's been good about it.
312-642-5600, the alphawealthgroup.com call in and text line. Marco Rubio also did a postmortem on the talks, and it's just a little bit different. I mean, of course, Rubio has a very different communication style, but he was pushed by NBC News. What did you ask for from Xi? vis-a-vis Iran. And Rubio was sort of took the Trumpian line that Trump didn't want to offer in response to this sort of topic. But so Rubio backfilled it.
What exactly did President Trump ask President Xi for when it comes to Iran?
He didn't ask him for anything. I mean, we're not asking for China's help. We don't need their help.
But he raises the issue.
We raise the issue to make clear what our position is and to make it clear so they understand. Because, I mean, it's logical we would talk about it given how dominant that issue is. Our position is very clear. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And that's what they were, they were on the verge of building a conventional capability where they had so many rockets, so many drones, that you couldn't do anything against them. They would hide behind that conventional shield to do whatever they wanted with their nuclear program in the future. That's why the president chose to act. In response to that, Iran has decided that they're going to take an international waterway and turn it into theirs and charge tolls for it. We're not going to allow that to happen, and that's why there's a blockade. It's a direct result of what they've done.
Rubio went on to say his understanding is that Xi also opposes the militarization of the Strait of Hormuz, as well as any sort of tolling regime that the Iranians would attempt to impose. Trump also had this to say. He posted on Truth Social about the meeting. He talked about, I'll just read from part of it. When Xi elegantly referred to the United States as perhaps being a declining nation, this was one of the minor contretemps, Xi bringing up the Thucydides trap. We've talked about before, a declining nation and an ascending nation, declining superpower, an ascending nation seeking to displace the declining superpower, and it inevitably leads to war. That's the Thucydides trap concept. Trump saying in reference to his reference, when Xi very elegantly referred to the United States as perhaps being a declining nation, very elegantly, he was referring to the tremendous damage we suffered during the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And on that score, he was 100% correct. Our country suffered immeasurably with open borders, high taxes, and so on and so forth. He was not referring to the incredible rise the United States has displayed to the world, the 16 spectacular months of the Trump administration, and then goes on to list his accomplishments. It's maybe in part true, perhaps in more than a little part, a stylized interpretation of what she was communicating by raising the notion of the Thucydides trap that he says America finds itself in vis-a-vis China. Yeah, there's some gamesmanship over Taiwan, gamesmanship over global hegemony. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Good morning, Dan. Question, maybe I don't understand, but why are we selling anyone oil at this point when we're spending $5.25 a gallon in this country? It's costing everyone a lot more to live nowadays. Maybe you could help answer that for me.
Well, thanks for the call, Joe. I mean, again, I don't pretend to have intricate knowledge of the global oil markets, but I do know it's a global market, and that's the issue. So you have private oil companies that sell on a global market. So, in terms of sort of differential pricing out of patriotism, trying to address the affordability piece, I think it's just a lot more complicated. Maybe a next season of Landman will tackle this, but I think it's a lot more complicated than saying we're energy independent. We produce more oil than any other country in the world, so we can just tell oil companies in the Gulf or on the West Coast that you're going to sell only to the American market and at this price point. It just doesn't work that way. That's not how global markets work. Oh, and by the way, Rubio addressed that too, because there's the D.C. press corps has twisted Trump's words when he was asked that very question about gas prices in Iran. And, he basically said, look, that's not informing my decision. I don't feel pressure because of a temporary spike in gas prices in this country. But that wasn't being dismissive of the American people's concerns over the price at the pump, as Rubio explained.
Did he make a mistake when he told a reporter that America's financial situation isn't playing, quote, even a little bit of a role in his motivations to make a deal with Iran?
No, I think what the president is claiming is that Iran's not going to use that as leverage against us.
Doesn't that sound out of touch, though? I mean, Americans are spending so much for gas.
Because I think what the president is making clear is that we're not going to let Iran use that as leverage. Think about what the Iranians are thinking. The Iranians, and they watch this. Remember, there's no free press. There is no you in Iran, right? There is no press in Iran that can criticize the regime or say, create any pressure on them.
Or China, for that matter. What the president's making
clear is if the Iranians think that they are going to, use our domestic politics to pressure him into a bad deal, that's not going to happen. We've taken extraordinary measures to keep gas prices lower than they are in some other parts of the world, and they will go down. Those straits will be open, and we will see those prices go down. And actually, I think you're going to see a dramatic reduction in oil over time because all of that pent-up oil that's being held hostage by Iran, once that reaches the marketplace, it'll have a very positive impact. But I would also say there's a price attached to a nuclear Iran. If Iran ever acquires a nuclear weapon, they will immediately... What would stop them from controlling the straits then? And then forget about it being a 3-month or a 6-month problem. It could be a permanent one.
All right, let's turn it over to Mike Scott for the headlines.
In Chicago this morning, after some overnight rain, it's 55. In the QC Kinetics newsroom, expect morning showers to continue. Otherwise, a partly sunny and breezy day with a high of 76. A veteran Chicago firefighter is dead, badly hurt during a training exercise on the city's north side. Fire officials say Stephen Decker was hurt while training yesterday in the 6600 block of North Kedzie Avenue. Decker has served with the Chicago Fire Department since 1997 and was expected to retire in the next several months. The CIA chief was in Havana Thursday as Cuba says it has completely run out of fuel. John Ratcliffe visited alongside a U.S. delegation. Cuba received most of its oil from Venezuela. The Supreme Court has preserved a woman's access to a drug used in the most common method of abortion, rejecting lower court restrictions while a lawsuit continues. All 22 suspects charged in an alleged gambling ring operating out of Northwest Indiana, including a well-known restaurateur, pleaded not guilty during arraignment Thursday at the U.S. District Courthouse in Hammond, Indiana.
The indictment is voluminous. There's a lot of allegations in respect to all these individuals.
James Giordimos was ordered to be detained, while Gigi Rovito was released on $1 million bond, a judge ordering GPS electronic monitoring and home detention for the Burr Ridge restaurateur, only allowing him to leave for work, meetings with attorneys, and court. Mayor Brandon Johnson says despite the Chicago Public Schools facing a huge budget deficit, he doesn't plan to close any schools. Earlier this week, CPS told principals that classroom cuts will result in fewer teachers to help remove a $732 million budget gap for the school next year. Bears' 2026 regular season schedule is out. Chicago opens the season September 13 on the road against the Panthers. Cubs snapped their 4-game losing skid with a 2-0 win over Atlanta. White Sox on a 5-game heater after a 6-2 win over Kansas City. Cubs and Sox start the Red Line Series tonight. PGA Championships, several players tied on top of the leaderboard after round 1. Defending champion Scottie Scheffler among many, shooting 3 under 67. The news, a service of Compassion International. Text the word radio to 83393 to sponsor a child with compassion today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues after we check your forecast in 2 minutes.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows and doors, to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio with your host, Roger Piper. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about home improvement. Listen tomorrow at noon for Home Answers, right here on AM 560 The Answer. Sponsored in part by Level 10 Coatings and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com, 800-LifeLock, 1-800-LifeLock, or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
I'd like to tell you about a man named Phineas who as a child survived the Holocaust. Phineas survived because Christians hid him from the Nazis, risking everything to save his life. Today, Phineas is in his 80s. He can no longer stand on his own or even leave his home to receive medical care. And when sirens sound and missiles fall, he doesn't have the time or the strength to reach safety. But once again, Christians are helping to save his life. Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, a mobile clinic brings doctors and medicine right to Phineas's doorstep, providing care that he otherwise would not receive, especially during a time of war. Phineas said, "Christians saved my life during the Holocaust, and now again, they are helping me." As Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day approaches, remember these precious children of God by lifting them up in prayer, asking for his protection, his comfort, and his peace. Stand with Israel in prayer by visiting supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a chance of showers in some areas during the morning with partial sunshine and breezy conditions for the rest of the day. The high will reach 72 degrees. Tonight will be mainly clear, but there is a possibility of a late thunderstorm. The low will be around 60 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. So the House Judiciary Subcommittee, held a hearing yesterday featuring one state's attorney named Steve Descano from Fairfax, Virginia. Steve Descano is the subject of a Department of Justice probe into whether or not he violated the civil rights of Fairfax, Virginia residents, like, say, Cheryl and Stephanie Minter. Descano, Soros-backed DA, sanctuary city enthusiast, non-prosecution, decarceration, defund leftist. And this is the way you do it. Who prosecutes the prosecutors? Well, in this case, perhaps the Department of Justice. And if they could make a colorable case against Descano, that would send shockwaves through the offices of other Soros-backed DAs around the country. There were some very spirited exchanges between Toscano and members of the subcommittee, appropriately so. But first, Cheryl Minter, Stephanie's mom. Before we hear from her, what she had to say yesterday, let me remind you about the case of Stephanie Minter in Fairfax, Virginia. It's not dissimilar to the case of Katie Abraham in Illinois or Sheridan Gorman in Illinois.
Nick, for weeks you've been reporting on this murder. What recourse does the family have?
Well, right now, Stephanie's family is urging Fairfax County voters to remember Stephanie's story, her murder, the next time Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney Steve Toscano is on the ballot, which is in 2027, next year. Now, I spoke to Stephanie's family here in Fredericksburg. The family told me that had Toscano prosecuted her accused killer and other serious violent crimes, Stephanie would be alive today. 7 News obtained emails that police sent to Toscano on 3 separate occasions, warning Toscano how dangerous Abdul Jallo was. The police told him they encountered him more than 100 times. And if he was let back out in the community one more time, it wasn't a matter of if, but when he would kill someone. Despite those warnings, Toscano's office dropped charge after charge against Jallo, who is a Sierra Leone national in the country illegally. Today, I spoke with former Virginia Attorney General J.C. Miyares, who says this could happen again if there aren't major changes.
My great fear is that because there won't be a change in policy, that you're just going to have more Stephanies. You have a governor that now has said that state law enforcement can't cooperate with federal immigration authorities. And there's legislation making its way through the assembly that would actually ban localities even having the option of cooperating with 287G agreements.
Sound familiar? Cheryl Minter, Stephanie's mom, testifying yesterday.
Watch her child grow. She deserved more time. I am asking you, please do not let her story be ignored. Do not let another family stand where I am standing. Make changes, take responsibility, protect your community, because no mother should ever have to wake up to this nightmare. I'd like to read from Psalms 28. Give them the punishment they so richly deserve. Measure it out in proportion to their wickedness. Pay them back for all their evil deeds. Give them a taste of what they have done to others. They care nothing for what the Lord has done or for what his hands have made. So he will tear them down, and they will never be rebuilt. Praise the Lord, for he has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord is my strength and my shield. I trust him with all my heart. He helps me, and my heart is filled with joy. I burst out in songs of thanksgiving. The Lord gives his people strength, for he is a safe fortress for his anointed king. Save your people, bless Israel, your special possession. Lead them like a shepherd and carry them in your arms forever. Thank you.
Nick Minnick is a ABC affiliate reporter in D.C. I can't believe he's a reporter for an ABC affiliate or any sort of legacy media affiliates. He's sort of like a one-man band inside the Beltway reporting on these stories of preventable crime. He's also all over the latest incident of a trans predator in the high schools in Loudoun County. We'll get to that. He dogged Toscano after the committee hearing about the Minter case. And by the way, Stephanie Minter, I believe she was 41. She was murdered by this animal 100 times. The police encounter him. Police telling the prosecutor's office, do not release this guy. She was murdered minding her own business at a bus stop. No rhyme or reason. Nick Minnick on the case of Toscano.
Didn't you apologize to Stephanie Minter's mother much sooner? Why did it take a congressional hearing to apologize to her?
We gotta get this right. Okay. Where we go? This one?
Why haven't you apologized to Miss Minter sooner? Sir, it's been several months since that murder. Why have you not apologized to her sooner?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What is the importance of having the community trust your office to be able to help investigations, even though you have a status of
Well, we need witnesses to testify. Without witness testimony, we can't prosecute cases. We can't get bad guys off the street.
Nick
That's
Minnick's
our
not
job.
done.
So
Wait.
having that trust with the community, that's necessary for us to do our job. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Sir, can you answer the question? When was the first time you have apologized to Miss Minter? Was it today? Jenna, do you have an apology for Miss Minter? Because you were the prosecutor on the Abdul Jallo case.
Thank you.
Next up.
You don't have an apology for Miss Minter?
Thank you. We're waiting for an Uber.
Any comment on why you dropped all those charges against Abdul Jallo?
We're waiting for an
Public
Uber.
statements many times about the evidentiary issues.
Yeah, this is the first time we've been able to ask her questions. Jenna Sands, you were on the prosecutorial team. You were the one those emails were addressed to. Why didn't you take it more seriously?
Okay, do you want to start walking
Do
that
you
way?
regret?
Next questions.
Do you regret
Nick, we've given specific
dropping these
answers
charges against Abdul Jallo?
about the evidentiary issues in these specific cases.
You don't have any regrets?
We are bound by the evidence.
I like it. I wish more reporters or frankly, politicians were as dogged on behalf of angel families. Don't you? On the matter of Toscano and this DOJ probe, it's very interesting. In part because of something Representative Jim Jordan noticed, that the policy approach that Toscano takes towards the use of his prosecutorial discretion changed recently. Isn't that interesting? Why'd your website change, Mr. Toscano?
This is your campaign website where you said our office will take immigration consequences into account when making charging and plea decisions. Immigration consequences were certainly part of the game here, part of the issue here with Mr. Morales-Ortiz.
No, they weren't.
You decided
they absolutely
not to
were not. You are assuming something that is in fact untrue, because you are misrepresenting my policies. My policies do not say that we do not prosecute people.
Well, if you're proud of your policies, why'd you change your website?
Because that's not my policy. As I told you, sir, that is a campaign statement that I made before I was Commonwealth
It had been up for 6 years. A week after we send you a letter saying we want you to come testify, shazam, you change it.
Because I could not.
Is that coincidental?
Because I could not believe that people were so obtuse that they could not realize what the difference between a campaign statement and an actual office policy is.
So when you make campaign statements, those aren't true? You're not being honest with your voters?
That's not what I'm saying at all, sir.
Sure sounded like it. Sure sounded like it.
It's absolutely not. What I'm saying is that when you
still haven't told me why you took it. You still haven't told me why you took it down.
Because I was hoping to come here to talk about my office policies, not be distracted by a campaign statement that was made a year before I was actually Commonwealth's Attorney General and had any cases that were mine.
This is almost laughable. This is your policy. You said it right here. You told the voters, if you elect me, I will take into account immigration consequences when making charging and plea decisions.
This is my policy, not what you have in your hand.
Oh, okay. So what you said to the voters is not real. Doesn't count.
No, sir. What I'm saying is that as an office holder, my office is run by my policy.
Your sheriff said you wouldn't prosecute. This guy gets released, kills someone the next day. We start asking about it. You change your website and take down the statements that say you're going to take into account immigration consequences when you decide what you are going to charge.
He's just so despicable. He's just so despicable. He takes the sanctuary policy approach that the prosecutor can take. You heard it. Jordan read verbatim the statement. Immigration consequences will be a consideration in prosecutorial decisions. That means if this person is going to be deported, I may not pursue charges. That's the translation. And it was up for 6 years because, I don't know, sloppy Nobody ever challenged him on it. Oh, he's got a policy that doesn't say that as far as his official policy in the office. Well, whatever your policy says on your website today or 6 years ago, you know what matters is the actual use of your prosecutorial discretion. We just talked about the Stephanie Minter case, the case that Jim Jordan just referred to. 23-year-old illegal from El Salvador, released by Fairfax County prosecutors last December 16th. December 17th, he shot and killed a 40-year-old man he lived with. He had a long criminal record in Fairfax County with at least 7 prior charges, including a first-degree murder charge in 2021 that Toscano's office also dropped. He was suspected of being both a member of, well, he was suspected of being a member of MS-13, the El Salvadoran gang. And he also, according to local reports, had a history of mental health issues. That's interesting. So you've got a guy with mental health issues who's affiliated with MS-13, who has had 7 prior interactions, including a first-degree murder charge over the last 4 years. He gets arrested again. You turn him out, and he kills somebody the next day. I know this is like banal for Chicago and Cook County, but in a lot of the rest of the country where civilized people live, this is rather shocking. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, answer line and text line. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking about that. You know, the story that we brought you earlier, I mean, you know, how desensitized we are in Chicago. The story I brought you earlier this week from Judge Beach, you know, the new sitting chief judge, 8% of the 3,048 individuals on electronic monitoring are gone. Well, or more to the point, the chief judge's office don't know where they are, which is like 244 criminals facing most likely felony charges, and probably not their first set. Gone, 8%. And, you know, and the way Beach's office commented on it was almost like they were beating their chest. You know, we only have an 8% disappearance rate, but, you know, we're not stopping there. We're going to try to get it to 7. I mean, that's not what they said, but that was sort of the tone of, they were almost bragging about it. This has become a national story. I saw it was getting picked up and talked about all over the place yesterday, people expressing shock. I couldn't bring myself to feign surprise when we talked about it. And I know most of you listening called in. You're like, I mean, it's a shoulder shrug, but it really shouldn't be. It's lunacy. Lunacy. Just as this Toscano guy's conduct in Fairfax County, Virginia is lunacy. I mean, again, the consequences, we know it well in a Cook County context, thanks to the reporting of CWB Chicago. 2020 to 2026 to present, almost 500 people have been killed. Well, put it this way. They've been victimized. They're the Not Horrible series that CWB Chicago's been doing for the last 6 years, starting when Tim Evans essentially instituted the Safety Act before it was actually state law. Nearly 500 people have been victimized by somebody awaiting trial on felony charges, who was out on electronic monitoring and shot, attempted to kill, or did kill somebody while, again, waiting for adjudication on pending felony charges on unrelated matters. That's the consequences. Nearly 500 people gone or whose life has been changed forever in one form or the other, physically, mentally, both. All preventable crime. Joe in Naperville, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, 2 quick points. When there was that school shooting many years ago, the police officer was prosecuted for dereliction of duty. And so there is some way to pierce the sovereign protection. If this prosecutor is derelict of duty, they should be able to prosecute him in some capacity. And also, they talk about following his policy. When does his policy trump law? That I just don't get that. If there's a law in the books, how does he just be able to come up with a new policy to trump that?
Thanks for the call, Joe. I mean, in terms of dereliction of duty, I mean, the way to go after this is the way that the Department of Justice is looking at it, through the prism of a federal civil rights violation, which is to which there are criminal penalties attached. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560. The Answer.
Speaking of dogged, that reporter Nick Minnick, Spencer Pratt, he is relentless, and he got rewarded with a serenading from one Catherine McPhee Foster. The LA Mayor's race, 606. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
President Trump is flying home. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After 2 days of talks in China,
this has been an incredible visit. I think a lot of good has come of it.
Now, the president said before leaving that he and Chinese leader Xi Jinping did talk about Iran not being allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And they argued the Strait of Hormuz, mostly closed for shipping in this U.S. conflict, should be reopened. China buys most of Iran's oil. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson reports from Dubai.
During the summit, some Chinese vessels made it out of the Persian Gulf. It also got violent again, pretty noisy. An Indian-flagged livestock vessel was sunk off the coast of Oman. It's not clear if there was any livestock on board. All 14 crew members were rescued. This attack taking place while India was hosting a BRICS economic summit, along with Iran's foreign minister was also in attendance. Another ship was commandeered off the east coast of UAE, last seen heading to Iranian waters.
The president is also touting trade deals worked out on the trip with more than a dozen American CEOs who came to China with him, telling Fox's Hannity.
Those business people are here to make deals and to bring back jobs. They're bringing back massive numbers. China's going to invest hundreds of billions of dollars with those people that were in that room today.
While flying home, the president posted this morning on Truth Social he's planning something new for Washington along the Potomac River, what he calls the National Garden of American Heroes. That the president wrote will include a magnificent exhibition of statues. The CIA director's gone to Cuba, which the president's called a failed country with a tariff threat that's cut off fuel shipments to Cuba, leading to worsening shortages.
Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials, including Fidel Castro's grandnephew, Raul Rodriguez Castro, to deliver President Trump's message that the U.S. is prepared to seriously engage on economic and security issues, but only if Cuba makes fundamental changes.
Fox's Carmen Roberts. Fox has also learned the U.S. is preparing a criminal case against ex-Cuban leader Raul Castro. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are cloudy, 55 degrees. Good morning. On AM 560, The Answer, I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect a morning shower, otherwise partly sunny and breezy with a high of 76. A veteran Chicago firefighter is dead, badly hurt during a training exercise on the city's north side. Stephen Decker was injured while training yesterday, according to Chicago Fire in the 6600 block of North Kedzie. All 22 suspects charged in an alleged gambling ring operating out of a Northwest Indiana restaurant pleaded not guilty during an arraignment Thursday at the U.S. District Courthouse in Hammond, Indiana.
The indictment is voluminous. There's a lot of allegations in respect to all of these individuals.
In other news we're following this morning, Chicago Alderman Jim Gardner is suing the city and other local ethics and accountability agencies. The 45th Ward Alderman filed suit against its Inspector General and the Board of Ethics, accusing them of defamation. The suit comes after the Board of Ethics fined him over $20,000 over allegations he retaliated against a constituent. Gardner appealed that ruling. The board later cleared him of any wrongdoing. Mayor Brandon Johnson says despite Chicago's public schools facing a huge budget deficit, he won't be closing any schools. Meantime, Johnson also confirmed he's planning to sit down with the Chicago-born Dalton Ray's Pope at the end of the month.
We're so proud, as a city, as a nation, that, Pope Leo has his roots right here in this beloved city.
But the mayor may be the only one bold enough to give the famous White Sox fan merchandise from the team's Northside rivals. Baseball last night was a win for the Cubs, blanking Atlanta 2-0, while the White Sox were winners 6-2. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. This year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions.
Protecting your home should not be a headache. Many security companies, they lock you into these multi-year contracts. No, Simply Safe Home Security, they do things differently. With Simply Safe, you get award-winning 24/7 professional monitoring around $1 a day without any long-term commitment. Simply Safe, they just want to earn your trust every day by doing a great job. Right now, you'll get 50% off your custom system by going to simplysafe.com/Hannity. Half off when you go to simplysafe.com/Hannity. And remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe.
For 250 years, Americans have believed in one powerful idea. We were meant to live free. Free to pursue our future, work hard, free to move, free to enjoy life without being held back. But if everyday aches and pains are slowing you down, it might be time to declare your independence from pain. I tried everything and anything to help me get rid of my pain, and nothing freed me. It just masked the pain, and the side effects diminished my quality of life. I'm sure you have been there if you have real bad pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that is designed to help your body fight inflammation, one of the root causes of pain. And it is not a quick fix or a temporary mask. It works from the inside out, at the source. Relief Factor. It was created for people to get back to living their life on their terms. Is that you? Walking, working, exercising, enjoying the moments that matter? This year, as we celebrate 250 years of American independence, take your stand for your own freedom. Declare your independence from pain. Try Relief Factor today. $19.95, 3-week quick start. Ready for you right now. Visit ReliefFactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
6:07, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time in Bensonville. Accident, a Bussey Road, and right at the 390 tollway, so be careful there. Jane Addams, an accident, left lane block eastbound just after Shattuck Road, and typical morning heavies on the Stevenson inbound between Central and Kedzie. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device. When you download the AM 560 mobile app, 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a chance of showers in some areas during the morning with partial sunshine and breezy conditions for the rest of the day. The high will reach 72 degrees. Tonight will be mainly clear, but there is a possibility of a late thunderstorm. The low will be around 60 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The LA mayor's race getting more and more interesting with each passing day. Catherine McPhee Foster and David Foster hosting Spencer Pratt at their Brentwood home for a fundraiser. Very Tony. And she serenaded him with just simply the best, better than Karen Bass, a little play on words in the Tina Turner classic there. But that's nothing in comparison to yet another new campaign song. And again, this thing that's fascinating about Spencer Pratt's race and probably political races going forward is that when a candidate catches fire the way that Pratt has, no pun intended, because of the AI, I mean, you have creative people that can produce really helpful content like campaign songs and ads, independent of the campaign. I don't even think it can be considered an in-kind contribution. People are just posting their artistic interpretation of the, in this case, Pratt candidacy, or artistic commentary on the performance of the incumbent, Karen Basura. So this one is a parody song of the everything... the Lego movie song, everything is great or whatever it was. Well, this is a parody, as you'll hear.
Everything is awful. Everything is hell when you're part of the scene. Karen Bass is awful and burning down our streets. Dirty needles, human waste. We just named two awful things. A stolen car, a burned down house. You know what's awful? Everything. Moms in shock, hit the locks. A camp of addicts down the block. Lots of tents, a very big mess. Awful scenes are not the best. Camps, traps, and crap. They're awful. Crack, smack, and shacks. They're awful. Slums, and scum, and bums. That's awful. Everything you see or smell or touch is awful. Karen Bass is awful. She's killing our dreams. Wait, somebody's fighting back now. Standing up and taking flack now. Spencer Pratt lost everything. Watch the flames take everything. But instead of looking down, he's exposing this whole town. Calling out the corrupt machine. Somebody's gotta clean this scene. Let's go! Truth, proof, and receipts. Not awful. Fight, light, and making things right. Not awful. One man, a plan, and he won't quit. Not awful. Spencer Pratt is done with all of this. Awful. Spencer Pratt is fighting. Everything gets better when you fight for the scene. Spencer Pratt is rising. He's gonna save LA's dreams. Everything gets better when somebody stands up and refuses to quit. Spencer Pratt is fighting, and we're done with all of this.
That's pretty damn good, isn't it? 312-642-5600, the alphawealthgroup.com answer and text line. Pretty good. Yeah, everything is awesome. Couldn't think of it. It was the Lego song that's parodied, and it's Weird Al Yankovic quality, that parody song. And the video associated with it is great, too. So it's Pratt's candidacy is generating all these contributors. It's really something to behold. And it's because of exactly what that song referenced, in part, and we talked about previously when tackling this race. He is on the job in a way that the incumbents, plural, are not. Going around the city and just documenting what is versus what they tell you it is, what actually is, which does a couple of things. One is, this shouldn't be this way. Two is, it's perfectly identifiable and easily fixable if you have any sort of concern about stewarding the city. For example, if this is a new one he just posted. It's very simple. He's filming outside of one of the parks in LA, one of the city parks, one of Karen Basura's parks.
This is Karen Basura's park right here. Look at this. And that's the encampment where all the fentanyl addicts and dealers just post up next to it. And then that's the park. That's where...
It's just showing it where there's just garbage and, yeah, I mean, it's just panning around the park. It's terrible. Nobody's there because, of course, as he said, it's a drug haven for addicts. And it's in disrepair, and there's all kinds of garbage everywhere. And it's just like we did the video of the one bridge where the lights were out. It's just basic stuff like that. All of this money and one catastrophe after another, basic services that are not provided, and the beautiful lies they tell you that belie the reality you live. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward formula. And, boy, he's getting to it, isn't he? George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, Dan, I think the formula is working. What he's saying is don't let your lying eyes deceive you. L.A. is not a lady anymore.
L.A. story, thanks for the call, George. Yeah, and the flip side from the old Soviets, well, you've heard from Karen Bass. She's very concerned about the violent images and some of the social media offerings from the Pratt campaign or from Pratt supporters. Pratt also just made fun of Nithya Raman, the councilwoman who's also running. She was proposing a regulation on backyard barbecues on red days, where particularly days where it's particularly combustible in the area. And so she wanted to come in and have the city council consider an ordinance to regulate barbecues. And so Pratt is parodying this with by barbecuing outside on a grill. And the point is the silliness. I mean, the silliness of it all. That they miss the forest for the twigs all the time, and usually on purpose. And they come up with ways to just be more meddlesome to no point in your life. She, by the way, has withdrawn that proposed ordinance from consideration. The ridicule of the political class that Pratt and Pratt supporters are inflicting is so good. And it shows you the power of it. I've been beating that drum for a long time. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. Always good talking to you. Did I hear correctly that Bass wants to drop out of the debate? Will there be a debate? another debate?
I don't think so. That's what I read as well, that Bass is not interested. And I can understand why. Thanks for the call, Bob. If I was, God forbid, somehow managing Bass's operation, she has the controlled vote. She has the government union vote. And that combined with the dyed-in-the-wool Reds in L.A. gets her probably across the finish line. Well, gets her very close, as we talked about yesterday, the polling that was out, Emerson College poll that had the race 30-22-19 with Pratt at 22. But there again, so Karen Bass has got 30% of the vote. Nithya Raman has 19%. 49%. That's your government unions and your dyed-in-the-wool Marxist revolutionaries and their useful idiots. 49%. So it's a big lift, but I don't know. There's something. We'll see. He makes the runoff, and we'll see if you can keep up this momentum over the long, hot summer and into the fall. But I don't know. This has a feeling of something very different than what the Republican Party effectively. I mean, it's not like he came from the Republican Party. I know he's affiliated with and votes Republican, but it wasn't like he was recruited. This is some poor party operation. This was obviously completely independent of any party structure. And that's the appeal he's making as well, as he did in that All In podcast, as he did on the debate stage as well. But I got to say, the situation in L.A. under Karen Bass is not going to get any better over the summer, into the fall, into November. And so Spencer Pratt just needs to continue what he's doing, documenting it and providing that alternative and making it about what he has said, what we have talked about, the common sense counter-revolution. That's what he's doing in L.A. with particular theatrical style, and it's working. Now, I don't know what his ceiling is, but I think we're going to find out. I hope it's at least 50% plus one. Roger, Southside.
Hey, happy Friday, Dan. Always the best show. Maybe you could play professor here with the LA thing. How have we come in the United States with places like LA, when we figure in 70, 80% of these major cities all have African American women in places of power, whether they be the county board, whether it be the mayors, governors, a good majority of their Democratic U.S. House reps. I mean, this plan was put together. I hate to say it, I didn't see it coming over 40 years. Yeah, I know you've been ringing the bell for a long time, as long as I've been following it. But I mean, this is bedlam. And like you said, as far as LA's thing in the short term, no, that's not getting any better. Like Chicago's not getting any better.
No.
We digress by the minute here. But man, this plan has been damn successful over. Because you know what, they're running the tables in all the areas that they want to push on there, and it's the pure Marxist agenda. I mean, am I wrong or?
No, you're not wrong. Thanks for the call, Roger. I mean, it's not about black women. It's about neo-Marxism. And the government unions have been pushing that. I mean, separating police and to some extent, only some, the fire unions. And, like the Teamsters to an extent, operating engineers that also have bargaining units in government, but much less so. I'm talking about the big three. The teachers, first and foremost, the Purple People Beaters, SEIU, and AFSCME. That's who we're talking about. That's who controls these cities. And in some cases, like Illinois, the entire state. And everybody else is just spare parts to be used or discarded based on their needs. But I mean, it's an identitarian thing in part because that's how you put together the Solidarity and Marginality Coalition. Everybody's marginalized, right? Everybody's a victim. Now we all get together, which is why you have people that don't actually have anything in common and have some real disagreements sort of, uncomfortably stitched together in this coalition. Yeah, and with some dust-ups that occur, like between second-wave feminists and trans activists. One not thinking the other who pretending to be a woman is the same thing as a woman, for example. But I mean, you have Karen Bass, you got Brandon Johnson, you got Zora Memdani, you got Katie Wilson. She's a honky in Seattle. It's all the same program. I have been beating this drum for a long time because I've been saying for a long time, you can move these people around to a different city and it wouldn't be any different. If you flipped out Brandon Johnson for Katie Wilson in Chicago, Seattle wouldn't change and neither would Chicago. Right? So they misdirect people with the identitarian game. Because the policy game is the same everywhere they are. And it's these ciphers for the public sector unions, the government unions, the big three, that's the boss. You want your top of the pyramid? That's the top of the power structure. That's the top of the pyramid. Not the front men and women they put out. They're interchangeable. Tom in Blue Island. Hey, Tom. Tom in Blue Island. Okay. We tried, Tom. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Protecting your home should not be a headache. Many security companies, they lock you into these multi-year contracts. No, Simply Safe Home Security, they do things differently. With Simply Safe, you get award-winning 24/7 professional monitoring around $1 a day without any long-term commitment. Simply Safe, they just want to earn your trust every day by doing a great job. Right now, you'll get 50% off your custom system by going to simplysafe.com/Hannity. Half off when you go to simplysafe.com/Hannity. And remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Hey, business owners, is your business and money in good hands? Does your bank invest in your success? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that when you need a relationship bank, Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. I love these guys. Not only do they have expansive industry experience, a strong financial track record, but they're also highly capitalized for strategic growth. That's so important. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. They know what it means to grow a business by designing solutions solutions that are right for you and only you. These are real people. They're ready to help. So reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Make the call today, 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Go online, signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. You know, it is just about golf season in Chicagoland. You know, April and May are so unreliable. And I wanted to direct people's attention to this guy. I think we've probably played a cut from him before, but this guy is really good. On Instagram, Tom J. Stewart is his handle. And he does this, if, you know, regular golfers had post-round press conferences like the pros, how would they go? And there's some really funny stuff. For example, on whether a high handicapper like him needs a rangefinder.
Tom, does a 25-plus handicapper really need a $600 rangefinder? No, I think we answered that today. You know, the rangefinder's right up there with the zero-torque putter, right? It's a fun toy to have, but if anything, it's a detriment to the game. It's not very applicable to my game. You know, my 4-iron goes anywhere from 63 to 197 yards, so not a lot of help there. Listen, I think we've come to the conclusion now. We've collected enough data to determine conclusively that, you know, the more information I have pre-shot, the worse it's going to turn out. You know, it's whether it's yardage or hazards to avoid or where to aim. You know, it all just gets in between the ears and really muddies the water. And plus, I don't know how to work it. You know, to be honest with you, I got 115 yards there on 12, and then I heard Buddy say 197. So I'm not even sure what I even gunned. Could have been a sprouting sugar maple, maybe an American elm, some sort of basswood. I know this course is known for its arboreal diversity. But I couldn't tell because it was so blurry. And yeah, I couldn't get it not to be blurry for more than half a second, which led to a pretty bad migraine there. So, yeah, listen, golf's a tough game, right? You know, you got to adapt. And happy that we got a tee time side up for tomorrow morning, 9:32. And we'll get out there and we'll get drunk.
Yeah. You know, there's some places where those infernal rangefinders are not allowed, like where I grew up caddying Chicago Golf, and the rangefinders. You got to walk it. And back in the day, yeah, there's the markers. They're colored, you know, they're colored red and so on and so forth. But there's no yardages, so you had to memorize the yardage book. When caddying was for real men back in the day, it was a real job, as opposed to just being able to lounge around by a cart and watch guys try to figure out how to use their rangefinder and hit their 4-iron anywhere between 63 and 197 yards. All right, coming up at 6:36, we'll talk election integrity with the Heritage Foundation's Hans Van Spakovsky. That's 6:36, and we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
54 degrees, skies are variably cloudy, and we may have a morning shower. Later today, partly sunny, breezy with a high of 76. A veteran Chicago firefighter is dead, badly hurt during a training exercise on the city's north side. Stephen Decker has served the Chicago Fire Department since 1997. President Trump finishing a 2-day summit with Chinese officials, in which they discuss giving American companies greater access to the Chinese economy and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Fox Business's Edward Lawrence is at the White House this morning.
In China, the president says that he secured a commitment for China to buy 200 Boeing jets. Also guarantees that China will buy more agriculture and live up to commitments in buying soybeans from American farmers. The president positioning the U.S. to make sure that China refuses to help Iran and pressures to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
President Xi Jinping could visit the White House in September. The Republican-led U.S. House Committee is calling the leader of the Chicago Public Schools to testify before Congress. Education and Workforce Committee Chair Tim Walberg has subpoenaed CPS CEO Macmillan King to testify next month at a congressional hearing. Electric bills for customers of ComEd are set to jump by an average of 12% next month. This is new reporting from the Chicago Sun-Times, who reports, according to the utility, The reason for the rate increase is due to the expiration of a nuclear and renewable energy credit. And GOP lawmakers are warning the departure of the iconic salt producer Morton Salt from Chicago is just the latest sign Illinois is increasingly unfriendly to business. State Senator Chris Balkema says Morton's departure reflects a larger trend he believes is fueled by Illinois' business climate.
This is the General Assembly right now to dial down the workers' compensation laws.
Balkema is a former Caterpillar employee and pointed to other companies that have recently relocated out of Illinois. A suburban community is rallying around the parents of a 14-year-old girl who died suddenly this week after suffering a brain aneurysm. Madeline Cerny was already a trailblazer in her freshman year at Schaumburg High, leaving her mark on history as the first girl to make the school's baseball team.
She was always a fighter during practice. She would always go 100% during every rep. And I know it's tough coming in as a girl to a all-boys baseball team.
She died Monday after suffering a brain aneurysm on Friday and falling into a coma. Cubs snapped their 4-game losing skid with a 2-0 win over Atlanta. The White Sox on a 5-game heater after a 6-2 win over KC. Cubs and Sox start the Redline series tonight. The news, a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you. Visit 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 613114. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher shares a scary stat.
74% of Americans, including 91% of Republicans and 70% of independents, say the U.S. is winning against Iran. Do you want to know what percentage of Democrats side with Iran? 40%. Nearly half of Democrats are cheering for Iran. Let that sink in.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-682-3311. That's 800-682-3311. 800-682-3311.
Everywhere you turn, it's plus, plus, plus. Retail chains, streamers, even our phones come with plus. And to think it all started with Hassellus Mattress, because nobody has more plus than us. Right now at Hassellus, get a Queen Beauty Sleep by Beautyrest Elm Cove A mattress. Others sell it for $1,459, but Hassellus has it for just $794. Plus, through Monday, you'll also get a free adjustable base. Plus, a huge selection of Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and other big name brands, plus free financing, plus free next day delivery and setup, plus free haul away and disposal of your old mattress, plus employee free showrooms. Get all this plus a whole lot more when you shop at Hassellus Mattress. Woo! All these pluses have me feeling nonplussed. Save big on Sealy Posturepedic, Beautyrest, and more every day from 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hassellus.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
6:37 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Lyle, an accident, Ogden and Old Tavern Road this morning. Jane Adams reports in with an accident, left lane blocked. It is eastbound just after Shattuck Road. And there are delays this morning on the Stevenson stop and go outbound in the construction zone between California and Pulaski. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Morning shower in the area, otherwise partly sunny and breezy. High 76. Could be a thunderstorm overnight, a low of 61.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Some updating on the remapping that's going on in earnest, in particular across the South. Court upheld the Louisiana map, the remap, which would, if the percentages in the distributed in these, I think it's half a dozen districts in Louisiana, hold up, would has the potential, likelihood, to add one Republican to the congressional delegation by subtracting one Democrat. South Carolina, we had a problem with the Senate, the Republican leader of the Senate there, Massey. But the South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster has come over the top and called a special session to circumvent any Senate Republican obstruction and pass a map that would probably imperil Jim Clyburn's continued service in Congress and make it a 7-0 congressional delegation Republican in South Carolina. Now, the flip side is Tate Reeves, the governor of Mississippi, canceled a special session that was to be called to pursue the same process there, much to the chagrin of Republicans inside and outside Mississippi. So there's an issue there. And in terms of the discussion about a remap in Georgia, I believe at present that is with an eye towards post-midterm elections. So anyway, just trying to keep everybody up to date. The net is that the Republicans' position has improved substantially over the last several weeks. I mean, starting probably a few months ago, but really over the last several weeks in the wake of the Calais decision by the Supreme Court, appropriately decided to end these racist gerrymandering business. Something else, though, and this came out of President Trump's sit-down with Cheryl Atkinson that we had discussed a bit towards the beginning of the week before he left for Beijing. He noted on Truth Social that Pagliacci Schumer, and Mark Elias, who was and is an election attorney and operative for the left, he was instrumental in the Russian collusion hoax, that they have put together a group that is hell-bent on trying to manipulate the election. This is what he wrote in part. Mark Elias, a terrible lawyer with a horrible track record, is also involved. This is the same disgusting individual responsible for the fake Russia dossier from a foreign nation to meddle in the 2016 election. The Democrats are totally unhinged, and we will not allow them to threaten the integrity of our elections. And he said that Republicans had an election integrity army in every single state in 2024 to preserve the sanctity of each legal vote. We will be doing the same again in 2026, but it will be much bigger and stronger, noting this problem they anticipated, or this coming together on the left that they anticipated with respect to the elections, and then the pursuit of trying to project onto Trump what they are doing in terms of political skullduggery surrounding elections by raising the boogeyman of, is he going to have ICE officers at polling places, which of course prompts the question, if you're not in this country illegally and thus you're not voting illegally, why would you care if there's an ICE officer at a polling place or not? Anyway, for more on all of this under the umbrella election integrity, pleased to be joined again by Hans von Spakovsky, Senior Legal Fellow at Advancing American Freedom. Hans, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Listen, I think one of the most important things for your listeners to know, because they are not going to get this from the left-stream media, as Rush used to call it, is you have all these folks, New York Times, NBC, et cetera, they're all saying that the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in the Louisiana versus Calais decision. No, that is completely false. What they did is they returned it to its original intent and stopped the abusive misuse of it that's been going on. And what I mean by that is, look, the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965 said you cannot engage in intentional racial discrimination in the voting context. At the time it was passed, look, black Americans were being kept from registering to vote. They were being kept out of polling places all over the South. That ended decades ago. So what the left did, Democrats did, is they started instead using it in the redistricting process to claim that, well, if you don't guarantee the success of candidates picked by black voters, why you're diluting their votes. And what the Supreme Court said is, no, you can only use race as a remedy to draw districts if you can prove that there is currently racial discrimination going on in a state. That totally sinks the Democrats, because that kind of discrimination that requires section, that ended decades ago. There isn't any currently. And in fact, in the Louisiana case, a lot of people don't realize this, the judge who told Louisiana you have to create a second black majority district, what was the evidence of the racial discrimination going on in the state of Louisiana that the plaintiffs brought in, the NAACP and others? It was from 60 years ago.
Yeah.
From before,
of course,
before the Voting Rights Act was passed, because they didn't have any current evidence.
Right. I mean, we've gone through this, and we'll have to go through this again and again, because it doesn't matter. You're going to continue hearing. I mean, it doesn't matter in terms of what you're going to hear from the left. You're going to continue to hear commentary like this from Hakeem Jeffries.
Because we know this unprecedented assault on black political representation, the likes of which we have not seen since the Jim Crow era, the ghosts of the Confederacy has afflicted the United States Supreme Court majority.
Yeah, the ghosts of the Confederacy, Jim Crow 2.0, that's going to be rinsed and repeated from now till November, and then from November to November of 28, and in perpetuity until they're so punished at the ballot box that they change their tack.
Yeah, I believe it's well, even then they probably won't do it. But like I said, that is the most important point of what that case said. You're going to bring a claim under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, it's got to be based on current discrimination, and there isn't any of that going on anywhere in the South. In fact, the only people who want to discriminate are Democrats.
Well, right. But what is going on in the South and the West and elsewhere are cases of voter fraud that persist, and this against the backdrop of a Save America Act that is lying dormant in the Senate.
Well, that is correct, which is why, unfortunately, I mean, one of the things I'm recommending, you'll never get this in places like Illinois, but in places like Georgia and Texas, you can. States ought to pass their own versions, state versions of the SAVE Act. Now, that would only partially solve the problem. Because of some bad prior case law, they could only apply the proof of citizenship requirement for people voting in state elections, governor or state legislature. They couldn't apply it to anybody voting in federal elections, but solving half the problem is better than not solving it at all.
Well, right. I mean, I agree. Now, the flip side is in places like California, you've got a city council member who's proposing to allow illegal immigrants to vote in local elections, right, as is the case elsewhere. So, I mean, the sanctuary states, the deep blue states, they're pressing hard in precisely the opposite direction.
No, that's correct. And the only thing that has saved that from happening in some places is the older state constitutions. And what I mean by that is, New York City, it passed an ordinance like that, I think 2 years ago, saying that aliens, whether they're here legally or illegally, will be able to vote in city elections. They were sued, and ultimately the New York State's highest court said, New York City, you can't do that. Why? Because it violates New York's state constitution. That was the only thing that stopped it.
And so, what concerns you with an eye towards the midterms and beyond? Trump pointing out this, whatever the specific effort is between that includes Schumer and Mark Elias and, frankly, the usual suspects. What sort of manipulations are you most worried about, and how do you think the Trump administration is doing in preparation for any such threats?
Well, I do have to say that I expect in many places for the elections to be very close. I mean, I think you may have congressional races come down to a handful of votes deciding who the winner is. And that's where the problem of alien registration and voting could make the difference. And a lot of people talk about illegal aliens, but the problem is aliens registering and voting, whether they're here legally or illegally. And, Joe Biden, with his open borders policy, allowed more aliens into the country in a 4-year period than we've ever recorded. And that's why Democrats are adamantly opposed to, for example, the SAVE Act in the Senate that would require proof of citizenship. They want aliens to register to vote and to not get caught because they think it'll help them win elections. And that's my biggest concern.
And I mean, just to put a fine point on it, you co-wrote a piece for The Federalist talking about cases, Colorado, Florida, I think one was another one, Alabama. I'm going from memory, but these are cases. These are actual voter fraud cases. Now there's a handful of them, so it's just a handful. And of course, the response is always, "Well, so you're okay having your vote canceled?" And these are the individuals that were sloppy enough to get caught too. So
exactly,
it's like with violent crime. It's an indication of a larger problem. We're not getting everybody who's committing these acts.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, how are you going to catch these aliens unless they make some dumb mistake when states aren't verifying citizenship? When you fill out a registration form, there's a question on it. It asks you, are you a U.S. citizen or not? If you answer yes, they immediately register you, but they don't check whether you answered the question truthfully.
I mean, so I think people are properly skeptical that the Save America Act is going to move in the Senate. John Thune seems to have opened with surrender, frankly. So other than Save America Act style legislation at the state level, as is feasible, is there anything that you are want to sort of focus the Trump administration's attention on with respect to this question of election integrity?
Actually, they've been doing that. Almost all of the prosecutions that have occurred in the last 6 months of aliens for registering and voting have been done by the Justice Department, not local authorities. The prior Justice Departments under Biden, under Obama, they didn't do that. They ignored these cases. I'm hoping that there's enough publicity about those kind of successful prosecutions that it acts as a deterrent, that it causes aliens to remove themselves from the voter rolls.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of the voter rolls, that's where I'm going to go next. And I know Harmeet Dillon has offered commentary on this intermittently over the last several months. But what's your assessment of how the Trump administration is doing, understanding they're not getting cooperation from a lot of deep blue states like Illinois in obtaining voter data and examining the rolls and compelling cleaning of the rolls where the local authorities have fallen down on the job?
Well, that's been a problem. Now, there's been a lot of publicity about the states fighting in court to prevent handing over those voter rolls. On the other hand, there's I think close to a dozen states that voluntarily handed it over. And that's a good thing because what they've been doing, for example, is running those databases, the voter registration lists, against the alien databases maintained by the Department of Homeland Security. And that's how one of the ways you can actually find aliens who are registered as voters. So it's kind of a mixed bag. You know, many of the red states have cooperated. It's all the blue states that are fighting in court against it. And so far, they've been winning in the lower courts. I'm hoping that when it gets up to a higher court, perhaps the Supreme Court, they'll finally say, well, no, under federal law, you have to provide this data. But that's going to be too late, even if that happens for the midterm elections.
Hans von Spakovsky, Senior Legal Fellow at Advancing American Freedom. Hans, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure, thanks for having me.
And Hans joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I hereby bequeath the Cara dining table from Penny Mustard to my great-great-great-grandchild.
Really?
Our solid wood furniture lasts for generations, so I'm making sure everything's covered.
Not a bad idea, really.
The Cara table's timeless design will never go out of style.
This concludes my last will and tablement.
The Cara dining table, paired with 4 Rubio chairs, starting at just $152 a month with no interest and no payments till May of 2029. Through May 31st at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way.
Ow!
And affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oakbrook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
For 250 years, Americans have believed in one powerful idea. We were meant to live free to pursue our future, work hard, free to move, free to enjoy life without being held back. But if everyday aches and pains are slowing you down, it might be time to declare your independence from pain. I tried everything and anything to help me get rid of my pain, and nothing freed me. It just masked the pain, and the side effects diminished my quality of life. I'm sure you have been there if you have real bad pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that is designed to help your body fight inflammation, one of the root causes of pain. And it is not a quick fix or a temporary mask. It works from the inside out, at the source. Relief Factor. It was created for people to get back to living their life on their terms. Is that you? Walking, working, exercising, enjoying the moments that matter? This year, as we celebrate 250 years of American independence, take your stand for your own freedom. Declare your independence from pain. Try Relief Factor today. $19.95, 3-week quick start. Ready for you right now. Visit relieffactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF.
AM 560, The Answer.
Garrick Higo. PGA, it's a major. The South African late for his tee time, 2-stroke penalty yesterday. Here's his explanation for why he couldn't get to the tee on time.
I always cut it pretty fine. There's a lot of us who do. We don't want to get to the tee box 10 minutes early and be cold. We have to hit it far and straight. It's our job to do that. I don't really think it's my job to be 10 minutes early. So obviously cut it too fine. I thought I still had a few minutes. I didn't have my watch or my phone on me, and my caddy was dropping off my TrackMan. So went to the putting green, hit one putt, and then heard my name and ran down.
You showed a lot of resiliency shooting a 1 under 69 on this golf course after that took place. How proud are you of this round?
Yeah, very proud. I mean, I think that's always been a big strength of mine is, fighting. I always stay in the fight. Might not always be pretty, but I felt like my swing and putting's been in a good spot this week. I haven't had the best year so far. So I just try to make good swings, stay in control of what I can control. Like there's nothing I can do about being late. I'm already late.
Yeah, he also said, I don't feel like I need to show up 10 minutes early. Well, I would rather show up 10 minutes early than risk getting a 2-stroke penalty out of the gate. I mean, would Gary Player do that? Garrick Higo. All right, coming up at 7:07, we'll return to our discussion of Trump's visit with Xi in Beijing. Daniel DePetris at 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
We're hearing from President Trump on Air Force One. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After leaving China following 2 days of talks with leader Xi Jinping.
Amazing period of time. President Xi's an incredible guy.
And the president just told reporters a short time ago the conflict with Iran was an issue.
On Iran, it's very interesting. He feels strongly they can't have a nuclear weapon.
And he says China wants the Strait of Hormuz back open since they buy most of Iran's oil. As for another big issue they discussed.
On Taiwan, he does not want to see a fight for independence because that would be a very strong confrontation.
But the president says he did not make a commitment. The U.S. backs Taiwan militarily. China considers the island its territory. Fox's Mark Meredith reports from the White House. The president will return around dinner time to Washington.
The two leaders talked a lot about trade while he was over there. The president says he left China with a commitment that it'll spend a lot more of its money on American products, from Boeing airplanes to soybeans. The president says bringing CEOs along with him helps sell America.
We have about 30 of the biggest business leaders in the world, biggest everything, you name it, from chips to planes to everything.
Women across the country can continue to get an abortion pill by mail after a Supreme Court decision to keep a lower court ruling on hold.
That ruling determined an in-person visit to a doctor was necessary to receive the medication. Thursday, the High Court granted the drug maker's emergency requests while the legal challenge plays out. The original case challenging the use of the drug was brought by the state of Louisiana, which sued the Food and Drug Administration to challenge a regulation that allowed mifepristone to be prescribed through telehealth and dispensed by mail, arguing it violated the state's sovereignty.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. While 18 Americans remain in quarantine after being taken off that hantavirus-stricken cruise ship, they're in Nebraska and Georgia. None currently have tested positive for it. The CDC monitoring 23 other people in several states for any virus symptoms. America's listening to Fox News.
Clouds and 55 degrees on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect a morning shower, otherwise partly sunny later today. A veteran Chicago firefighter is dead, badly hurt during a training exercise on the city's north side. Fire officials say Stephen Decker was hurt while training yesterday in the 6600 block of North Kedzie. All 22 suspects charged in an alleged gambling ring operated out of Northwest Indiana restaurants have pleaded not guilty. It happened during an arraignment Thursday at U.S. District Court in Hammond, Indiana.
The indictment is voluminous. There's a lot of allegations in respect to all of these individuals.
The ringleader, James Girodimos, was ordered to be detained. Mayor Brandon Johnson says despite the Chicago public schools facing a huge budget deficit, he doesn't plan to close any schools. Electric bills for customers of ComEd are set to jump by an average of 12% next month. According to the utility, the reason given is due to the expiration of a nuclear and renewable energy credit. And the Chicago Sun-Times was first to report that Kevin Michael Doyle, actor and Second City cast member who became a Chicago cop, recently passed away at the age of 68. His best-known role was in the movie The Untouchables as the bumbling, red-haired police recruit who sparred with Sean Connery. Later, he became an actual Chicago police officer, working the 18th District in the Old Town neighborhood. Doyle died after a long battle with pancreatic cancer last Saturday. And here's something you may not know. While studying political science at Northern Illinois University, he roomed with Dan Castellaneta. You know him as the voice of Homer Simpson. He served as best man at Doyle's wedding. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobridge Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company.
For 250 years, Americans have believed in one powerful idea. We were meant to live free. Free to pursue our future, work hard, free to move, free to enjoy life without being held back. But if everyday aches and pains are slowing you down, it might be time to declare your independence from pain. I tried everything and anything to help me get rid of my pain, and nothing freed me. It just masked the pain, and the side effects diminished my quality of life. I'm sure you have been there if you have real bad pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that is designed to help your body fight inflammation, one of the root causes of pain. And it is not a quick fix or a temporary mask. It works from the inside out, at the source. Relief Factor. It was created for people to get back to living their life on their terms. Is that you? Walking, working, exercising, enjoying the moments that matter? This year, as we celebrate 250 years of American independence, take your stand for your own freedom. Declare your independence from pain. Try Relief Factor today. $19.95, 3-week quick start. Ready for you right now. Visit relieffactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands like Proft University and the Sean Thompson Show at 560theanswer.com/store. An accident in Glendale Heights this morning. Glen Ellen Road and North Avenue being swept out of your way. And an accident blocking things up on the Jane Addams I-90 westbound. A left lane block just after Swanson Road. Overnight railroad overpass construction is running late on the outbound Stevenson between Western and Pulaski. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a chance of showers in some areas during the morning with partial sunshine and breezy conditions for the rest of the day. The high will reach 72 degrees. Tonight will be mainly clear, but there is a possibility of a late thunderstorm. The low will be around 60 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Before we get into matters of geopolitical importance, text from 630, standing for 10 minutes makes you slice, haha. We're referring to the Garrick Higgo incident yesterday, the South African golfer who got a 2-stroke penalty, the PGA, first round of the PGA, for being late to the tee. Said, I don't really feel like I need to get there 10 minutes early. But the makes you slice thing, maybe this was the person who called in last week during Open Mic Friday. Somebody called in and said, they're slicing, and did I have any tips for them to stop the slice? And I did. The way I played this week, I shouldn't be giving advice to anybody. Anyway, I forgot to mention this, so I'll get this in now. I got a response after the show from Gary Groh, who was the pro at Bobolink for 35 years, former tour player, great ball striker. He said this: I enjoyed your explanation on how to cure slice, which was very generous. But he said, that's a generous thing for him to say to my advice. He said, the best way, so listen up, all you who cut across the ball. The best way to correct the slice is to split your grip. Put your left hand at the end of the grip and the right hand on the small end of the grip so your hands are split. Take a few small swings, and you will see how the swing reacts. No slice. So there's your Tour Pro endorsed panacea for the slice. All right, Gary Groh. Listen to Gary Groh. Don't listen to me. But at least I got you the answer from a pro, so that should help. Now, what my game needs is beyond probably even the help of Gary Groh. All right, matters more important than that, slightly. President Trump's time with Xi in Beijing has come to an end, and they offered the customary pleasantries and backslapping and platitudes. But some of the things that Trump said, specifically on Iran, let's focus there. I mean, there were other matters too, trade matters, which we talked a little bit about earlier in the program. Trump did a postmortem with Sean Hannity on the discussions with Xi, but on Iran generally, he had some revised things to say to the president.
Now they can make a deal, or they get annihilated. I don't want to do that. Yeah. But we have the greatest military, and when you do news conferences, you're getting the word out that you're not going to read in the New York Times.
And in terms of this ceasefire period, quote unquote, whatever Iran thinks they have done to try to reconstitute themselves can be undone, and he's telegraphing will be undone in a day.
They have no anti-aircraft. Now, they probably have. I mean, we know everything they've done. They built it up a little bit. We'll take it out in one day. It'll all be gone. I hope they're watching, because all of their anti-stuff, anything they put up, we know exactly what they put up. They had a little respite, and so they're trying to get a few things together. They're taking some missiles from underground. We know exactly what they're doing. It'll all be gone in one day. Everything they've done for the last 4 weeks will be gone in one day.
President Trump also said she committed to him that he will not be providing any weapons to Iran, and offered help.
She would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer. He said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because,
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I could be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
For more on this, Daniel DePetris joins us, fellow at the Defense Priorities and a syndicated foreign affairs columnist at the Chicago Tribune and Newsweek. Daniel, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. How you doing?
Good. So, I mean, the pomp and circumstance was all very impressive, and the two seemed very chummy. But at the end of the day, other than, the concrete trade deals that will either be consummated or not, and those will be easy to measure. Either they buy 200 planes from Boeing or they don't. Either they buy more soybeans or they don't. All of this other business in terms of what he said and what Trump thinks about what he said is to be taken with a grain of salt, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It is interesting that President Trump and President Xi, got along fairly well on a personal level. But you're right to point out that the lack of tangible agreements here after 2 days in Beijing is pretty notable. There wasn't anything on Taiwan. There wasn't anything specific on ending the war in Iran or reopening the strait, regardless of what Trump told, Sean Hannity on Fox News. A lot of the president's opponents will probably bash him for not getting agreements with President Xi. I would actually argue that they are completely off course and mistaken. I think anybody who expected Xi and Trump to actually sign something tangible was probably setting themselves up for disappointment. That's just not how statesmanship works, particularly when you have two adversaries that are, structurally competitive across a bunch of fields, economically and politically.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen, right? I mean, okay, I'm going to sign an agreement that says I won't send weapons to Iran and I'll help you open the strait in these ways, and then you're going to sign an agreement that says I won't interfere when we invade Taiwan. I mean, that's just, come on. First of all, that's never going to happen, and secondly, if it did, it wouldn't be worth the paper it was written on.
Right. To take it all with a grain of salt. The Trump administration, going back to the first term, this isn't the first time they've dealt with the Chinese in a substantive way, right? I mean, they had the phase one trade deal back in January 2020 that they signed after over a year of pretty substantial, tough negotiations. And it turned out that the Chinese kind of slow rolled on implementation and, buying a lot of the agricultural products from American farmers that they committed to. So with China, you always want to kind of do the whole Reagan thing, trust but verify. I think that's true. It really doesn't matter what the Chinese say in public. It matters what they're actually doing and whether they're actually implementing what they agreed to on paper.
Do you agree with Trump, though, that he believes that Xi shares his view that Iran should not have nuclear weapons? Even the Chinese communists, who may see Iran as, one of their proxies of convenience for now. I mean, it would make some sense that they would be opposed to a nuclearized Iran in terms of weaponry.
Yeah, I think that is true. It's been a long-standing position in China that they are adamantly opposed to Iranian nuclear proliferation as a matter of principle. The question, of course, is whether China is willing to assist the United States in that effort. Right now, it seems like both countries are sort of working at cross purposes. Whereas, the Trump administration is using a substantial amount of economic and military pressure to kind of coerce the Iranians into giving up their nuclear program, whereas China is more in tune with, providing the Iranians maybe with a degree of indigenous, enrichment that the world can kind of accept, but under strict international protocols and things like that. So I think the United States and China have a similar end goal, but the way they're going about it is substantially different.
There seems to be a lot of argument about Iran's current wherewithal. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Bradley Cooper said, the reports that Iran retained 70 to 75% of their ballistic missiles are untrue. Another report said 90% of the mines, the estimated mines that were laid by the Iranians have been swept, so they no longer pose a threat in the Strait. We've given varying estimates of the drone capacity that the Chinese, that the Iranians have left. I mean, do you have a good sense of Iranian wherewithal and who we should believe? I mean, the only thing, because I got into disagreement with somebody who's clearly opposed from American Conservative earlier in this week, someone clearly opposed to this military action in Iran. But, there's intel assessments, there's reporting in one outlet, there's over here. I just go back and look at, say, well, what has Iran showed us they have the capacity to do? And at the end of the day, I know they've done some damage in some Gulf states, and there's even varying reports on how much damage they have inflicted. But it just doesn't seem like they have very much capacity. And in point of fact, this is what Admiral Cooper said in congressional testimony.
Capability have been significantly degraded. If I just use my own professional experience, in 100 transits through the Strait of Hormuz, you would typically see 20 to 40 fast boats, and lately we've seen 2 or 3.
That's a significant reduction. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said this about Karg Island and the Iranian oil business.
Karg Island, we've seen that there have been no loadings in the past 3 days. We believe their storage is full. None of the ships are getting out. None are coming in, so they're not able to store oil on the water. So they're going to start shutting down their production. I think that they are on their last legs, and the blockade, President Trump's blockade, has been a resounding success.
So, I mean, I guess the big question, Daniel, that wraps this all up is Iran being slowly and methodically suffocated or not?
Well, I mean, there's no question whatsoever that the Iranian economy is hurting. I mean, they rely on a substantial amount of their budget on oil exports, and the vast majority of those go through the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, is blocked by the U.S. embargo, U.S. blockade right now. They can sort of deal a little bit with the embargo by using alternative trade routes like rail lines and things like that to export some of their oil. It's not going to make up for, the 1.5, 2 million barrels of oil that they used to send before the war. But there is a way for the Iranians to sort of chip away at the damage. In terms of military stuff, I'm with you, Dan. I think it's very difficult to know one way or the other because there's just so much conflicting information going on. I think if you're a U.S. policymaker, you have to assume the worst. So you have to assume that the Iranians retain a significant amount of missile capacity and drone capacity, particularly if President Trump makes the decision to kind of resume the war after 4 or 5 weeks of ceasefire. I think if you're a policymaker, you can't bet on the rosy scenario. You have to assume that the Iranians have more than what the generals are telling you. That's my personal take on it.
And so then, so that informs the decision whether or not to maintain patience, frankly, and let the combination of the blockade and Operation what's the economic version of Epic Fury, Economic Fury, whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. Let that continue to just whittle down the Iranians.
I think that's what the administration is trying to do. Trump is sort of caught between escalating militarily, and I don't think he wants to do that in the end. I think he just wants the blockade to kind of, atrophy the Iranian economy to the point where the Ayatollahs kind of like sign on the dotted line. I don't know how likely that is. I'm personally of the opinion that the Iranians are far more stubborn than Trump gives them credit for. I think right now the most possible scenario is just continuing what he's been doing for the last several months, which is kind of put a damper on the Iranian economy long term. I don't think he wants to escalate this any more than it needs to be escalated. And I have a very hard time believing that Trump is actually going to sign what the Iranians want him to sign.
No, I agree with you there. But he keeps talking about these targets that have been identified that have not been taken out yet. And, talking provocatively about that. I'm sure he's trying to draw a reaction. He's not getting much of one. And even if he did get one, rhetorically, how can you trust it with the people that you're dealing with? And so, doesn't, as they say, kinetic action have a place here if you really want to drive the point home and or take out this whatever's left of the IRGC leadership?
Well, I mean, it depends on what Trump wants to achieve, right? I mean, if he wants to sign a deal that limits the Iranian nuclear program to the point where the world is confident that a bomb is outside of the realm of possibility, I think he can do that diplomatically, and he doesn't need to go through further escalation.
Although, but I'm sorry to interrupt, but on that, they've already done the Lucy with the football routine. We're going to turn over the enriched uranium. No, we're not. And Trump has said, they're going to turn it over. We're going to come and get it. So if they're not going to turn it over, or you can't trust they will, then you got to go get it. Apparently, that's what both Netanyahu and him have said.
Yeah, I don't. First of all, I don't know if the Iranians actually agreed to turn over the enriched uranium. The Trump says that, but Trump says a lot of things. So I would just.
But if they didn't say that, then that's even worse. That's even more of a problem.
Well, you don't have to turn the uranium over. You can dilute it to a point where it's no longer a threat, and you can put it under IAEA monitors. That's
right.
Another option.
Yes.
The question, for me at least, Dan, is whether Trump is willing to kind of give away certain things that would be hard politically for him to give away. And by that, I mean, full-scale sanctions relief that the Iranians have been demanding for decades. So it's a very hard question for him. What does he want? Does he want to limit the program at a possible political cost, or does he want to escalate and possibly deal with more, economic turmoil on the back end? I don't want to. It's an unenviable position for him. I don't want to be President Trump right now.
Well, I mean, these things. I mean, as he and Rubio have said, I mean, we've allowed this to metastasize for half a century. These things do not come without costs, right? That's just, life is about trade-offs, and so there's going to be some pain. You're even talking about pain at the pump. He's not being cavalier about it. It's just he's just being hard-headed, like the reality-based about it. What we're trying to do is not risk-free. Anytime you're trying to do something important, there are risks associated with it. So it's a balancing act and test.
That's right. And that's a perfect message that people should remember. I mean, every policy decision is of cost-benefit analysis, right? There's no ideal scenario out there, and I think that the Trump administration is really working through its options and trying to determine the best course of action as they see fit.
Just quickly on another matter, what was your interpretation of John Ratcliffe's visit to Cuba?
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think I read this is the first high-profile, the senior-most profile trip in Cuba since at least a decade. So this tells me one of two things. Number one, the administration is deadly serious about, negotiating with the Cubans in terms of, economic concessions. And it's not a surprise, right? I mean, President Trump has been pretty adamant that Cuba needs to come to the table and start talking seriously. The other read here is that the CIA director kind of went to Havana and sort of read the riot act to the Cubans: cooperate, or something more, disastrous is going to happen to you down the line. He may have done both. We don't know. Yeah. He may have done both, but it is very significant that the CIA director was in Havana for sure.
Yeah, I'd like him back in America because I want him to answer questions about what that COVID whistleblower from CIA had to say in testimony this week. But I digress. Daniel DePetris, fellow at Defense Priorities and a syndicated foreign affairs columnist at the Tribune, Chicago Tribune, and Newsweek. Daniel, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, Dan. Thank you.
And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Preston. A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
If you're considering investing in precious metals, don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty-free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results, done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
Speaking of that COVID whistleblower that we discussed yesterday, former CDC director Robert Redfield essentially corroborated his testimony on Newsmax. Take a listen to what the former CDC director had to say about his buddy Tony.
Do you lay any blame on the shoulders of Dr. Fauci, as the whistleblower does?
Well, I think he was very accurate when the whistleblower was very careful in his language. He said that Dr. Fauci was intentional in misleading the American public. And unfortunately, even though he's a colleague and a friend, I think that's true. I think he misled the American public. And I think the reason why the CIA came to the conclusion they did, and the witness said that today, is that Fauci influenced the thinking process of the intelligence community. He didn't influence the FBI because they use their own scientists, and he didn't influence the Energy Department because they use their own scientists. But the CIA used basically scientists that were referred by Fauci and others, and I think they had a narrative from the very beginning that somehow this was going to be from the wet market, which was really in my view, a ruse from the very beginning to turn the attention away. The scientific community got behind it because the last thing the scientific community wanted was the public to realize that it was really the science that actually led to this pandemic. It wasn't some nature accident. It was science. And I argue that it was scientific arrogance that really led to this whole pandemic. And it's a huge pandemic. It killed over 20 million people. And it caused a lot of harm in our nation economically, a lot of harm to our children. I have 14 grandchildren. A lot of them had their schooling disrupted for years. So it was unfortunate. And I do think the witness was a courageous witness. He was highly credible.
Wow. Misled. Part of a ruse. Yeah, Tony Fauci is weird science, it turns out. Coming up at 7:37, talk about a change in attitude. We're going to talk to Dr. Zeke Emanuel, Tiny Dancer's brother. The guy that wanted people to, exit stage left at the age of 75 now has tips for healthy living. Maybe only up until 75. We'll find out. 7:37, now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
57 degrees in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Morning showers are possible, partly sunny and breezy the rest of the day. We're watching a developing story on the south side, Gage Park neighborhood, east and westbound 59th Street, just west of Sacramento, shut down. Police activity there, and again, it's a situation we will follow up for you throughout the morning. A veteran Chicago firefighter is dead after he was badly hurt during a training exercise on the city's north side. Fire officials say Stephen Decker was injured while training in the 6600 block of North Kedzie. He has served the Chicago Fire Department since 1997. Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks is stepping down, telling Fox News it's time. Banks says served in the role since the start of President Trump's second term last year. Honda posting an annual operating loss for the first time in almost 70 years. A more than $2.6 billion loss, mostly tied to its electric vehicle business. Senators will go without pay if there's a future government shutdown.
Too long shutdowns in less than a year put financial strain on those federal employees working without pay. Like those employees, senators would get back pay when the shutdown's over and the checks restart. Louisiana Republican John Kennedy sponsored the bill. It takes effect November 4th, the day after the midterms. The 27th Amendment to the Constitution, proposed in 1789 and ratified in 1992, prohibits any law that changes congressional salaries until after the next election.
Fox's Chris Foster, the GOP-led U.S. House, is calling on the leader of the Chicago Public Schools to testify before Congress. Education and Workforce Committee Chair Tim Walberg has subpoenaed the CPS CEO, Macmillan King, to testify next month at a congressional hearing. Meantime, Mayor Brandon Johnson says despite the Chicago Public Schools facing a huge budget deficit, he doesn't plan to close any schools. Chicago Bears opening up the regular season September 13, and they'll do so on the road against Carolina. Bears host the Eagles in Week 3 on Monday Night Football. Cubs beat Atlanta last night. White Sox on a 5-game win streak after a 6-2 win over Kansas City. Cubs and White Sox start their series later tonight. The news service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Alex Marlow explains the end goal.
People are starting to finally get the message that I've been bringing to you on this show from day one, which is that so long as Iran intends to pursue nuclear weapons, that is an imminent threat to the United States of America, and we cannot allow for that to happen. We need to lock in the full and total destruction of Iran's nuclear capabilities, and then things will go back to creating the golden era.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Ever wonder what the Greek god slept on? Huh? You know, like Aphrodite.
The goddess of love.
Do you think she had a heart-shaped bed?
Maybe.
And Hades, god of the underworld.
I suppose he slept on a trundle bed.
I think the Greek gods would have loved the Nevaeh bedroom from Penny Mustard.
Well, Nevaeh is heaven backwards.
And sleeping in the Nevaeh bedroom is heavenly.
Sophisticrafted, sleek, and sturdy.
Along with forever tight bed brackets.
An interchangeable fabric headboard.
Smooth, full extending steel drawer slides. mattresses.
And drawer bottoms strong enough to stand on.
A bedroom fit for a king.
You mean a Zeus?
Yeah, but not Poseidon.
Why not?
Here it comes.
He'd have a waterbed.
The Nevea bedroom, starting at just $168 a month, with no interest and no payments till May of 2029 through May 31st at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
You know, protecting your home should not be a headache. Many security companies, they lock you into these multi-year contracts. No, Simply Safe Home Security, they do things differently. With Simply Safe, you get award-winning 24/7 professional monitoring around $1 a day without any long-term commitment. Simply Safe, they just want to earn your trust every day by doing a great job. Right now, you'll get 50% off your custom system by going to simplysafe.com/Hannity. Half off when you go to simplysafe.com/Hannity. And remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Giving your liver a spring cleaning is easy with Active Liver from New Nordic. Search for Active Liver by New Nordic on Amazon, CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
7:38 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of AutoZone. Get in the zone. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got the battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Kennedy, stop and go inbound Cumberland to Lawrence. Overnight road work still causing problems outbound right at Western Avenue on the Stevenson Expressway. And there are problems on the Reagan I-88. You're jamming up at Roosevelt. Roadwork problems on Route 53 northbound between the Ike and Kirchhoff. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Morning showers passing through, otherwise partly sunny and breezy with a high near 76.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and our next guest has perhaps had a change of attitude on aging, or the aged, I don't know. Dr. Zeke Emanuel has a new offering out. Eat your ice cream, 6 simple rules for a long and healthy life. Dr. Zeke Emanuel is an oncologist, a bioethicist, and vice provost at the University of Pennsylvania, the Quakers. And also, he is in town this weekend for the Chicago Humanities Festival on Sunday. We'll get details on that. Dr. Zeke Emanuel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You didn't mention that I'm an old Chicago boy.
Well, of course, the Emanuel name we're familiar with in Chicago. Everybody's familiar with. But yes, we can start there if you want. So what do you think about your brother running for president?
That's a choice for him. I think he'd make a great president if he wins, but that's a choice for him to decide.
All right. Are you going to be involved with the effort?
When called upon, I respond to my country's call.
Okay. All right. Well, now wait a second. And we've spoken before. Appreciate you coming back. You were the guy that said, 75 and it's time to shuffle off to your eternal reward. And now you've got 6 simple rules for healthy living.
Yes, I have a philosophy of life, which is I know what hell is. hell is my body's working great, the heart's pumping, I've got all the muscles working, but my brain isn't. And that, I think, would be utter hell. That would be the worst of all possible worlds. That was the whole point behind the article you're referring to, where I didn't say I wanted to die at 75. But I said that, I don't want life-sustaining treatments after 75. But I also said in that article that everyone has to decide for themselves how they want to live their life, what they think is a good life, what they think is a hell that they want to avoid. And this book is written for everyone. It's, how whatever your philosophy is, this is how you can live a long, healthy life and make sure your brain is working as well as it can for as long as it can.
I want to get to the 6 simple rules because they're kind of fun actually, and they are pretty straightforward. But one question. So we talked to Yale law professor Sam Moyn yesterday about his new book on the gerontocracy. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you're
yes.
sure. Oh, you are. Okay. So you understand where he's coming from, and he believes that essentially the older Americans are hoarding too much for too long, and we need more redistributionist policies to get younger people more stuff from them faster. Is that what's your view on the conversation he's trying to drive?
Well, my view is we do want to have opportunities for young people. And I do think that there's an important role for old people to play. But I also think there's an important time for them not to dominate. And I think one of the really important things about young people is they're creative. They come up with new ideas. They've got a lot of energy. And we do want to have a situation where older people aren't just hanging on and boxing out younger people. And I do think, fundamentally that's one of the challenges of people living a long life. And so I agree with him. I think that it's quite clear we've had in Congress people who are not mentally functioning well and still holding jobs. We actually had a Republican congresswoman from the South. I forget whether it was Alabama or Texas or somewhere, that was actually in an assisted living facility because her mind wasn't there, still serving in Congress.
Well, same thing with DiFi in California, right?
Oh, I thought that was a mistake too. And what wins there is not the public good, what's good for the country. What wins there is partisanship. And that, I think, is one of the biggest problems and something we, have to really get over if we're going to have the country going forward.
It's just complicated to make policy in that direction, isn't it? Because, for example, there's a good book that Rich Karlgaard wrote a few years back. He was the publisher of Forbes for a while, called Late Bloomers. And he talked about all the great entrepreneurs who didn't get it together and, found a successful company, brand names that we know, like Colonel Sanders and Kentucky Fried Chicken, until they were into their 50s and some late 50s. So, there's still creative. You don't have to be a tech bro in your 20s to be creative.
Excuse me. 50s is not 70s, 80s, and 90s.
No, I know, but
very different, and those are very different years. And the gerontocracy is referring to people who are over 65, if I'm not mistaken, and that's a very different situation. Look, I'm a big expert in Benjamin Franklin. He's one of my heroes. I'm actually just about to go speak about him right after this radio interview. He's a guy, everyone says, oh, he invented, bifocals. He was 79 when he invented bifocals. Right. Absolutely true. There can be brilliant people. Let me just say one thing. They tend to be outliers, and you can count them on your hand, and you can name a few of them. That doesn't make them the norm. And I think we got to play to the norm. We have to have rules and policies for the norm, not for the exceptional one or two people like Benjamin Franklin.
Well, you like to leave room for the exceptional, don't you? And by the way, those,
we can leave room for them, but that shouldn't guide us. When someone says, "Oh, but my Aunt Sally was 93 and perfectly competent," it is true. I was just reading about Alexander Hamilton's wife Eliza, who was 93 and sharp as a tack, according to everyone. Okay, that isn't the norm, and we should not make rules for society based upon the norm or expect that to be the norm.
Well, I mean, just a point on the 50s not being the 70s. I get it, but I'm talking about people who started companies in the 50s and, had to work for a while to bring the company to fruition. So they were well into their 60s and beyond when they found success, too. So I hear what you're saying, but I just, just point of order on that. All right, let's talk about your 6 simple rules. I like the first one. Don't be a schmuck. That's a good rule for healthy living. Perfect.
Yes. Don't do stupid things. Don't take unreasonable risks. We know lots of these rules, right? Don't smoke. Don't vape. It might be safer than smoking, but it's still not safe. One of my favorites is don't climb Mount Everest, right? Lots of people I want to climb Mount Everest. Well, it turns out that that's about the schmuckiest thing you can do. The chance of dying while climbing Mount Everest is 1 in 100. And if you're over 59, it's 1 in 25. What's that? Why would you do that? Why would you even think about doing that?
Okay. You also sort of provide a bit of a critique or maybe just details in terms of sort of this, wellness living movement. What wellness living, how you should conceive of that.
Yeah, look, wellness has got to be an integral part of your life. It's got to be a habit. And a lot of the movement today is about self-denial and about, punishment and obsessing about things. Wellness is not the goal of life. It's a means to a goal. And one of the problems I have with all the wellness influencers is they make it the whole goal of life. And that is in my view, a very big mistake. So you have to have wellness. You have to make it something you enjoy doing. Because you're going to be doing it day after day for decades if you're really going to be serious. You can't just say, I'm going to do wellness. I'm going to go alcohol-free in January, and that's going to be my wellness. That's not the way wellness works. And so you have to – it can't be self-denial, self-punishment. You don't have willpower to do that for 40 or 50 years. And it has to be part of your life that you forget about and focus on the important things. How you're caring for your family, how you're caring for your community. Those are the important things in life.
And on exercise, then, I mean, getting moving and staying active. That doesn't necessarily mean like intensive CrossFit training and triathlons. You don't have to, you don't have to go to extremes.
Absolutely not. One of the most important points I make in the book about exercise is that there's a plateau, that actually doing more is not going to be beneficial in terms of reducing your mortality risk, and it's only going to expose you to the chance for injury. So you need to get a sweet spot, and it turns out that's not 10 hours a week. It's about 2.5 to 5 hours a week, and that's really the sweet spot that for most of us. Now, you want to do an Ironman? Okay, do an Ironman. I'm not sure that would be the focus of my life, the most meaningful thing I could find with my time. But if that's what you're obsessed by, then you want to go to an extreme. But from a health and longevity standpoint, from a wellness standpoint, that's absolutely not necessary, not part of the agenda at all. What you need is about 75 to 150 minutes a week, which turns out to be a little more than an hour to 2.5 hours per week of exercise. And that can be everything from, brisk walking, riding a bike, swimming, dancing if you like to dance. So there are plenty of possibilities here. What you have to do is get your heart rate up and your lungs, you're breathing up faster.
I do Pilates. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a whole thing in there about yoga and balance and flexibility. Absolutely. And if in Pilates you're getting your heart rate and blood pressure up, 20 minutes this morning and then 5 minutes of strong core exercise. I did it too.
And now I understand from reading about the book that you're a cyclist.
I'm a big bicyclist, yes.
Please tell me you don't get dressed up in one of those Tour de France costumes when you bike ride.
I won't tell you that I don't, because I do.
Okay, all right.
I usually go out. So I go out when I can do short distances about 15 miles in an hour. But I will do, 2 hours on a weekend, go about 40, sometimes 50 miles. And I'm going pretty fast clip, 17, 18 miles an hour. So, yeah.
Oh, all right. But I mean, are you with one of these posses of bike riders, or are you flying solo? You're riding solo?
They're called Pelotons, and I usually go with my wife. No, I don't.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I'm not a posse kind of guy.
Okay. Well, but wait a second.
Us Emanuels, we're not really posse people.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But one of the things you say is that you got to be social. You got to do things with people.
Yes, absolutely. You have to do things with people. And my favorite thing to do with people is I like to have dinner parties. So I cook a nice meal, very healthy meal, make sure there are lots of fruits and vegetables. And I have people over for dinner and, usually goes for 2.5 or 3 hours. That actually is one of the things I like the most to do. And I call, a dinner party a trifecta, a wellness trifecta, because you're challenging your mind if you're making new dishes, you're eating well, and you have social interaction. So absolutely.
And I assume those dinner parties are punctuated with ice cream for dessert, because you say eat ice cream.
Sometimes they are punctuated with ice cream dessert. Almost invariably, they're punctuated with chocolate at the end, because I make chocolate and I like chocolate, and chocolate's also good for you. But yes, ice cream is good for you. And, again, you shouldn't just deny yourself good things because you think they're bad. It turns out that if you look at the research, ice cream is actually associated with a decrease in your risk for diabetes and other problems. It's a dairy product, and it turns out to be good for you.
All right. Can I ask you one policy question?
You can ask me whatever you want. It's your time. I'm here to serve.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, Obamacare. We've been on before. We've previously talked about Obamacare, and it continues to be full of complications. I don't know if you saw the Journal's editorial on Obamacare, but this is a pertinent part, and I want to get your reaction to it. When selling Obamacare, Democrats claimed their new entitlement would be financed by increasing taxes on the rich, and the bill would be paid for by making sure the wealthiest Americans pay their fair share. But that didn't happen. The 3.8% tax on net investment income and 0.9% Medicare surtax on earned income kick in at $200,000 for singles, $250,000 for couples. Even in 2010, those levels could hardly be considered wealthy. But as inflation has pushed up incomes, most folks who now pay the taxes are solidly middle class. Part of the affordability issue that is being bandied about in the political realm is part of it's associated with the cost of housing. The big part of it is associated with Obamacare premiums.
I would say that's totally there's a lot of different factors in there. Let's just make a few things very clear. Obamacare saved the country a fortune. Between roughly 2009 and 2023, 2024, healthcare costs as a percent of the GDP was flat, did not increase above 17.5%. That is largely due to Obamacare, and that was very, very important. In addition, there's data that Medicare premiums and prices have stayed flat, saving the country $4 trillion that went to reduce the deficit and other things that the Democrats get no credit for. Okay. Now, that didn't happen because of some policies that the Republicans put in place. That happened because of the Affordable Care Act and changes we made. Now, after 15 years, we've had 15 years where the Republicans have not permitted any revision of Obamacare, have constantly tried to repeal it with no replacement. And then they say, wow, it's got all these problems. What company that puts in place a strategic plan, walks away for 15 years, or has internal carping and attacking on that strategic plan, and then says, oh, it didn't succeed as well as we would have wanted? Of course it didn't. No one puts in a plan like that without interim revisions identifying problems that weren't anticipated and solving them. We haven't done that. And that's been one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, about, now 15 years after we passed Obamacare, 16 years, saying, oh, it wasn't perfect. I agree it wasn't perfect. Do we need reform today? Absolutely. But to say that Obamacare is the reason we have unaffordable health care today is clearly a mistake. Just not factually correct.
All right, you'll get the last word. I want to have you back to talk more in depth about Obamacare, but let's, we'll accentuate the positive about your healthy living advice for today's session. Dr. Zeke.
You're adopting it. I hear you're taking the philosophy to heart, and you're going to adopt it and have ice cream this evening.
For the most part, yes. I mean, especially the ice cream part. That's the easy part. Dr. Zeke Emanuel is an oncologist, a bioethicist, and a vice provost at the University of Pennsylvania. The new book, Eat Your Ice Cream, 6 Simple Rules for a Long and Healthy Life. Dr. Emanuel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on and set you straight.
Yes. Okay. And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:08, we're going to talk to a hedge fund risk manager, the author of a just-released book, Wrong Number, How to Extract Truth from a Blizzard of Quantitative Disinformation. Sounds like a page-turner. And, of course, at the bottom of the hour, Open Mic Friday. So give us a call. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
He talks about the talks. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump talked to reporters on Air Force One this morning, hours after leaving China.
President Xi's an incredible guy. Got a lot of great trade deals.
It's hard to hear that in the White House video, but the president says as he flies back to Washington, they made a lot of trade deals. They also discussed Taiwan, which the U.S. backs militarily, but China considers its territory.
The last thing we need right now is a war. That's 9,500 miles away.
And they discussed Iran and getting the Strait of Hormuz back open.
We control the strait, and they've done no business. Literally, they've done no business in the last 2.5 weeks, which is approximately $500 million a day.
And the president says China's leader agrees Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. As for the enriched uranium he's demanding Iran gives up,
I want to get it. And they agreed to it, but then they took it back, but they'll agree to it eventually.
Democrats remain critical of the president's handling of Iran, though another attempt to pass a war powers resolution to limit military action failed in the House with a tie vote. Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna tells Fox Business they want to
make sure that the war ends, because it's literally hurting American farmers, American consumers, price of food, price of gas.
Oil prices, they're rising this morning, 3%. Gas is down a penny today, but it has spiked up more than $1.50 during this conflict with Iran. There are still no current positive hantavirus tests for any of the 18 passengers in quarantine in the U.S. in facilities in Georgia and Nebraska after being taken off the cruise ship that had a deadly outbreak. CDC Dr. David Fitter says there are 23 others being monitored for virus symptoms and 2 other groups across several states.
Second,
passengers who had already left the ship and had already returned home before the outbreak was identified. And third, people who may have been exposed during travel.
America's listening to 57 degrees. Skies are mostly cloudy and expect a morning shower. Otherwise, partly sunny for the afternoon with a high near 76. A veteran Chicago firefighter is dead after he was badly hurt during a training exercise on the city's north side. Stephen Decker was hurt while training yesterday in the 6600 block of North Kedzie Avenue. All 22 suspects that have been charged in an alleged gambling ring operating out of Northwest Indiana and Northwest Indiana restaurants pled not guilty during an arraignment Thursday at U.S. District Court in Hammond, Indiana.
The indictment is voluminous. There's a lot of allegations in respect to all of these individuals.
The Republican-led U.S. House Committee calling on the leader of the Chicago Public Schools to testify before Congress. Education and Workforce Committee Chair Tim Walberg subpoenaed CPS CEO Macquillan King to testify next month at congressional hearings. Mayor Brandon Johnson says despite CPS facing a huge budget deficit, he doesn't plan to close any schools. Meantime, Johnson on Thursday confirmed he is planning to sit down with the Chicago-born Dalton Rays Pope at the end of the month.
We're so proud, as a city, as a nation, that, Pope Leo has his roots right here in this beloved city.
The mayor may be the only politico bold enough to gift the famous White Sox fan merchandise from the Cubs. Chicago sports was another win for the White Sox. 5-game heater for them and a 6-2 victory over the Royals, while the Cubs beat Atlanta 2-0. The News is a service of American Beam and Steel structural repair license contractors for your home or business. Search American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. Time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Shares of startup chip makers Cerebras jumped 68% yesterday, its first day of trading. It was priced at $185 a share and closed at $311. The Wall Street Journal says NVIDIA dominates the market for artificial intelligence chips, but the strong launch is a sign investors are betting Cerebras can carve out a piece of that market. The Nasdaq and S&P closed at records yesterday, and the Dow was back over 50,000, though this morning stock futures are losing ground and crude oil prices are higher. Brent crude has topped $109 a barrel, West Texas Intermediate at $104. Fashion brand Salvatore Ferragamo shares are losing ground after it reported sales declined in the recent quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Firago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Everywhere you turn, it's plus, plus, plus. But at Hasselus Mattress, nobody has more plus than us. Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $293. Plus, through Monday, get a free adjustable base. Plus, a huge selection of Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and other big-name brands. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup. Plus, employee-free showrooms. Whew! All these pluses have me feeling nonplussed. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
For 250 years, Americans have believed in one powerful idea. We were meant to live free. Free to pursue our future and work hard. Free to move. Free to enjoy life without being held back. But if everyday aches and pains are slowing you down, it might be time to declare your independence from pain. I tried everything and anything to help me get rid of my pain, and nothing freed me. It just masked the pain, and the side effects diminished my quality of life. I'm sure you have been there if you have real bad pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that is designed to help your body fight inflammation, one of the root causes of pain. And it is not a quick fix or a temporary mask. It works from the inside out, at the source. Relief Factor. It was created for people to get back to living their life on their terms. Is that you? Walking, working, exercising, enjoying the moments that matter? This year, as we celebrate 250 years of American independence, take your stand for your own freedom. Declare your independence from pain. Try Relief Factor today. 1995, 3-week quick start. Ready for you right now. Visit relieffactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
For 250 years, Americans have believed in one powerful idea. We were meant to live free. Free to pursue our future, work hard, free to move, free to enjoy life without being held back. But if everyday aches and pains are slowing you down, it might be time to declare your independence from pain. I tried everything and anything to help me get rid of my pain, and nothing freed me. It just masked the pain, and the side effects diminished my quality of life. I'm sure you have been there if you have real bad pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that is designed to help your body fight inflammation, one of the root causes of pain. And it is not a quick fix or a temporary mask. It works from the inside out, at the source. Relief Factor. It was created for people to get back to living their life on their terms. Is that you? Walking, working, exercising, enjoying the moments that matter? This year, as we celebrate 250 years of American independence, take your stand for your own freedom. Declare your independence from pain. Try Relief Factor today. 1995, 3-week quick start. Ready for you right now. Visit relieffactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
8:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the Hartford Auto Insurance. Wait until you hear this. You can save hundreds by switching to AARP Auto Insurance from The Hartford. Visit trusthartford.com. The Hartford, your protection is their passion. The Hartford Insurance Group does pay royalty fees to AARP for the use of its intellectual property. And on the roads this morning, outbound Kennedy, stop and go between Montrose and Cumberland. As you're traveling on the Stevenson, stop and go outbound western to Pulaski. Dan Ryan, locals inbound jamming up at 51st. Delays on the Jane Addams eastbound between Meacham and Route 53. And 53 has roadwork delays northbound between the Ike and Kershaw. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a chance of showers in some areas during the morning with partial sunshine and breezy conditions for the rest of the day. The high will reach 72 degrees. Tonight will be mainly clear, but there is a possibility of a late thunderstorm. The low will be around 60 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Our next guest wrote a really interesting piece that's an excerpt from his book over at realclearmarkets.com, pitting the gambler against the academic statistician. Very interesting. And what the theorist and the practitioner tell us about markets and the asymmetry of information. Aaron Brown is a longtime risk manager in the hedge fund space. The book just released, Wrong Number, How to Extract Truth from a Blizzard of Quantitative Disinformation. Aaron Brown, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks. Good to be here.
Okay, so you frame this some interesting questions around this conference, I guess, that started back in the 1980s, which is no longer, that brought those two sort of cohorts of individuals together for a discussion on, math and markets. I guess, provide that backdrop for us so we get to the fundamental questions.
Sure. And the conference went back to the 1970s. It was held in Reno, Las Vegas. And we had advantage gamblers. So these are people like Ed Thorpe, the guy who invented blackjack card counting, and other people who make their living in sports betting and casino betting. And many of us actually migrated to finance afterwards, where you put down more money and get richer faster. But it also brought in mathematicians, economists. It brought in people who treat problem gamblers, casino executives, regulators, all kinds of people. It's still going on, by the way, but you don't find the advantage gamblers there anymore. It used to be the only place you could find them. And there was this class divide between people who actually bet on their predictions and people who published papers they wouldn't bet a nickel on. And we managed to thresh out a lot of things, and we learned from each other, right? The people betting actually learned that, the academics were smart and they did know a lot of stuff, but they just didn't have the gene that said, I really believe what I'm writing and therefore I'll bet on it.
Was Doyle Brunson ever there?
Doyle Brunson was in town. He was not of this sort. He's a poker player. He's not a gambler. He's not a mathematician of any sort.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or the blackjack card counters, the bringing down the house guys from MIT, right?
The blackjack card counters are there. Again, MIT was a different crowd. We never met any of the MIT people there. They were more process-oriented. You'd think they come from MIT, so they're all math guys. They're not, actually. They're people who practiced really hard on systems that were invented by Ed Thorpe and other people. So at the conference, we had the people who invented the systems.
So why bring these two groups of individuals together? What was the thesis or the hypothesis behind the productive results that would ensue?
Bill was a really interesting guy. Bill Eddington, the guy who started the conference, professor at Reno, who unfortunately died about 10 years ago. He had a really interesting idea, which is that, economics, mathematics.
Did we lose Aaron? Aaron? Okay. All right. Well, we'll take a break, see if we can raise Aaron Brown. We'll be right back.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
Okay, I think we've got Aaron Brown back, longtime risk manager in the hedge fund space. The book, Wrong Number, How to Extract Truth from a Blizzard of Quantitative Disinformation. We were talking about this conference in Vegas that started back in the 70s that was unique in bringing together professional gamblers with professional academics. And Aaron, before we lost you there, sorry about that, you were about to explain, what the thinking was behind bringing these two groups of people together.
Sure. And so this is Bill Eddington, professor at Reno. He's a professor of economics, but his specialty was the gambling industry. And he thought academics should bet on their results if they really believe them, and they should meet people who bet on their results. And also that we should talk to regulators and casino executives and, everybody else involved in the industry. And it's very productive. We all learn from each other quite a bit. But the biggest difference was, the people who really believed their findings, they were paying their mortgage with the profits from betting on these things, and the people who wrote papers and would never bet a nickel on anything.
And what did each group learn from the other, sort of fundamentally?
Yeah, well, what we learned is, some of these academics were really smart, and they had lots of great ideas. They had lots of bad ideas, too, and they didn't know the difference. The academics, and by the way, that's the whole premise of the book, that there's a lot of great studies out there that tell you useful things, and there's a lot of total nonsense that the authors of the study wouldn't bet a nickel on. What some of them learned was to bet, and some of them became hedge fund managers, some of them became advantage gamblers, some of them, just went on to use the stuff they had been working on. Some of them, I'm sorry to say, didn't learn anything. They just went on publishing their papers and denying that anybody could beat the market.
Interesting. And you did your own sort of empirical study experiment in the advantage gambling space, betting on football. Why did you bet and the NFL? Why did you do that, and what did you learn?
Okay, so this was back in 2006, and an ESPN producer by the name of Bruce Feiner came to the conference, and he saw this debate that had been going on for decades at that point, and he said, well, I want to do a documentary, and I want to see if the professors or the advantage gamblers are better at beating NFL lines. So I built a system, a very simple system based on public data, completely disclosed, published on the internet, and bet real money every week for 17 years or so, to prove that it's actually pretty easy to beat these NFL lines. It's not something you need a genius thing. You don't need a complicated system. You don't need inside information. You just need a simple, disciplined approach to betting. And this is something all the professors denied. They said, if you want to beat it, you need inside information. You need these incredibly complicated models, and so on. I will say, by the way, there's a warning here. It's not hard to come up with picks that can beat the bookies. What's hard is to get somebody to keep writing you checks when you keep winning money. So that's the tricky part about that.
Okay.
But I did manage to do it. And for 17 years, I proved, this system makes steady profits. Now, it's not going to make you a billionaire. I think I made $12,000 or something over 17 years from the system. It's not something you're going to live on. But it's easy. That's the point. Anybody can do it. It doesn't take a statistics degree. You don't have to know anything about football. Unfortunately, the documentary never got made. Bruce Feiner died, and apparently nobody in ESPN was interested in actually producing the thing. But it would have been a great documentary if they ever did it.
Can you work on college basketball, because I'm flailing the last couple of years, and so I need some support. So one of the questions back and forth between these two groups, the gamblers and the academics, if you can beat the house, if you can win 55% of the games and beat the house, then why aren't you a billionaire? And the response was what? To the academics?
Yeah, the response is that these things don't scale. That, I could put down $100 bets for 17 years and make $12,000. If I tried to put down $10,000 bets, I would have been cut off in year one. By the way, that's why most of us moved into finance, because in finance you can put down, $10 million bets. But the edges are smaller. In NFL betting it's pretty easy. In finance it's a little harder, but much larger stakes means you can become a billionaire doing it. And it's exactly the same techniques, and it's exactly the same way of looking at it. I spent 35 years on Wall Street making money off of other people's wrong numbers. And when I retired, I started doing a video series for Reason, taking exactly the same things I did in finance, but applying them to gun control, to climate change, to minimum wage, all of these different issues, and just saying, look, there's a lot of wrong numbers out there, and they're easy to spot. You don't need a statistics degree. You don't need inside information. You don't have to read these jargon-filled papers. You just look at the thing and say, this number just can't be right. One of the studies I talk about in the book, it says U.S. aid saved 91 million lives over since 2002, and that's more than the entire decline in global mortality. It's saying U.S. aid, which is less than 8% of total foreign aid, prevented more than 8% of all global deaths. I mean, why is anybody dying if that's true? So you just look at the number and say, okay, this is ridiculous, but it gets published in the most prestigious medical journal in the world. It gets amplified by Washington Post, New York Times, Bloomberg, NPR, and it's just clearly absurd on its face. And all you got to do is apply the same skepticism to a number like that as you would to somebody trying to sell you a mutual fund.
And the flip side is the gambler's response to the academics. If your, closed system models are so reflective of reality, explain the way a market works, then why are you so poor? And their response was what?
Yeah. It was that the question is rude. That you're asking, about a shoddy, seedy thing like gambling, and I'm a noble academic, only interested in truth and philosophy. But, it's exactly the same thing an Aristotelian philosopher in medieval times would have told Francis Bacon when Francis Bacon said, why don't you count the number of teeth in a horse instead of arguing about it? It's just a refusal to connect their work with reality. It's very hard to explain, but we have an entire system of government experts, of journals, of academics. And again, most of these people are smart, and most of these people want to find out the truth, but they're just afraid to bet on their results. And you just can't trust somebody who's afraid to bet on what they say.
Well, it's like, since COVID is in the news again this week, per that whistleblower's testimony, it's like the modeling that we had on mortality rates at the outset of COVID. And so many of those that were relied on and taken as gospel to inform public policy making, certainly at the front end of the pandemic, turned out to be so wildly wrong. And thus, perhaps those policy choices that were based upon those flawed models were also wildly wrong.
Yeah, and by the way, David Zweig has a great book about this called Out of an Abundance of Caution, or An Abundance of Caution is the title of the book. And listen, at the start of the pandemic, we really didn't know anything, and the public health officials had to make some guesses, and they had no alternative. They had to guess. And you can totally forgive any mistakes they made at that point. But the thing is, they never updated, as evidence came in to prove these things were wrong. It wasn't just they were, doing untested stuff or unproven things. They were actively pushing very costly policies, both in terms of civil rights and in terms of money, that were proven wrong, and that other countries were, proving every day were just not working. And nobody questioned it. The people who questioned it were censored, were suppressed. And some of them turned out right. Now, some of those people turned out to be wrong too. I'm not saying that, the public health officials are idiots and the critics were all geniuses, but nobody was interested in looking at the information. Nobody was interested in debating it. And some of the most damning stuff in David Zweig's book, which is a great book too, not just, you should buy mine, but you should buy his too, is that these people had no idea. He talked to some insiders from Andrew Cuomo, and Andrew Cuomo was getting, great press all over for being the most activist governor about the thing. And he said, it never even occurred to anyone in his inner circle to ask, does this stuff work? Is there any science? They had no scientists. They had no interest in science. They didn't talk to the CDC, and the CDC was giving out a lot of misinformation, but at least you're talking to a scientist. It just didn't even matter. They were just winging it based on politics and based on what they thought would look good for the public. And I suspect this is true in California. I expect this is true in Biden's
Illinois
White House as well.
Yeah,
Illinois. The people were just looking at things. I still remember the rules. Like I remember I was moving between New York and California at the time, and in New York, you could go to the beach, but only go in the water. You couldn't stay on the beach. In California, you could go to the beach, but you couldn't go in the water. And they were just making this stuff up. It just made no sense. And you just had to look at it and say, wait a minute, the rules, there is no rational theory that would explain these rules. Now, if somebody said masks prevent COVID, well, that's at least, that could be true. It could have turned out that was true. And so somebody might guess. But then when the evidence came in, it wasn't true. They didn't tell you to take off your mask. And they switched back and forth, mask, don't mask.
Yes. No, I remember it well. So the takeaways, one of the takeaways from the book clearly is more professional gamblers in public office and less academics. Okay, I got that. What else should we take? Sort of what is one of the recurring themes in the book that we should understand, other than maybe everybody needs to be at least able to pass a class in Econ 101?
Yeah, well, professional gamblers aren't the only people who bet on their results. If you get somebody who's a successful infantry commander, you get somebody who built a business and met a payroll. There are a lot of people in the world who act on what they think. And I would like to see more people who have had a career actually being proven right, rather than people who were, only lawyers or only politicians. But there's a lot of other stuff in the book. It's really a question of being skeptical, of looking at the numbers, of believing that you don't need to be an expert. So this guy's got 10 degrees and he's got an IQ of 200 and he wrote a paper in the most prestigious journal in the world. Ignore all that. Just look at the number and say, this is something I can possibly believe. And what's his evidence for it? And, so you don't need to respect the authorities. If it's the government agency, if the CDC says something, if the Bureau of Labor Statistics says something, don't just, say, oh, I must believe that because they're experts. Look at the numbers. And when you do it, and the book has 31 case studies, basically, of major public issues that were in all the headlines that were supported by the biggest authorities, that in 5 minutes of thinking about it, you would just say, this is complete nonsense.
Aaron Brown is a longtime risk manager in the hedge fund space, as he was describing. The book, Wrong Number, How to Extract Truth from a Blizzard of Quantitative Disinformation. Wrong Numbers, the book, Aaron Brown, the author. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And check out the Reason videos at Reason Magazine, the videos for Wrong Number as well.
Okay, Wrong Number videos at Reason.com. Great. Aaron, thanks for joining us. You joined us in the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
For 250 years, Americans have believed in one powerful idea. We were meant to live free. Free to pursue our future and work hard. Free to move. Free to enjoy life without being held back. But if everyday aches and pains are slowing you down, it might be time to declare your independence from pain. I tried everything and anything to help me get rid of my pain, and nothing freed me. It just masked the pain and the side effects, diminished my quality of life. I'm sure you have been there if you have real bad pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that is designed to help your body fight inflammation, one of the root causes of pain. And it is not a quick fix or a temporary mask. It works from the inside out, at the source. Relief Factor. It was created for people to get back to living their life on their terms. Is that you? Walking, working, exercising, enjoying the moments that matter? This year, as we celebrate 250 years of American independence, take your stand for your own freedom. Declare your independence from pain. Try Relief Factor today. 1995, 3-week quick start. Ready for you right now. Visit relieffactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, yes, that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls. 312-642-5600, the alphawealthgroup.com answer and text line. Take your calls with comments, concerns, criticisms, compliments, general crack pottery. We will take it all. And begin in just a second, but I did want to get to a mention of this. Our friend Alex Berenson and his lawsuit against the Biden administration, Berenson v. Biden. It was finally settled with the Department of Justice. And Berenson's a big winner. And so is anybody who believes in the First Amendment. Berenson told the Free Press, when I went to bed last Thursday night, talking about last week, I was sure we didn't have a deal. The government offered money, but they weren't willing to admit what they had done. And I wasn't going to agree to a settlement without that acknowledgement. But the next morning, my lawyer texted me with the news that they had agreed to the language, so we made the deal. The language was this. The United States government has acknowledged and conceded that the government did in fact violate the First Amendment by exerting substantive coercive pressure on social media companies such as Twitter to suppress disfavored speech like the plaintiffs. It's a big victory for First Amendment, for free speech. As we all know now, especially if you listen to this show, Berenson looked closely, and per our last guest, Aaron Brown, he looked closely at the studies and other evidence surrounding COVID that was offered in support of the policy choices the COVIDians made. And he became a dissident, which meant he was out of step with the public health establishment, science writers at mainstream publications, and he was also declared a public enemy. You probably don't remember this, Berenson said, but in July 2021, Biden said that social media companies like Facebook were killing people. That led to a huge amount of concern at Twitter, which did not want to be called out publicly by the Biden administration the way Facebook had. A month later, Berenson was banned from Twitter for what the company described as, quote, repeated violations of our COVID-19 misinformation rules. Berenson said in the tweet, that was the last straw. I wrote that the mRNA vaccine doesn't stop infection or transmission, something now widely acknowledged as true. And I ended the tweet by saying, and we want to mandate it, ? Insanity. That was the last tweet. What he didn't know when he was banned was that the Biden White House was behind him losing his Twitter access. And so he sued Twitter in December of 2021 on the grounds the company had an implied contract to keep him on the site. When he won at the district court level, Twitter decided not to appeal and settled instead. And as part of the settlement, he got behind-the-scenes documents and emails that led to the decision to ban him. That's how he discovered the Biden administration had strong-armed Twitter. He also discovered that Scott Gottlieb, FDA commissioner during Trump's first term and then a Pfizer board member, worked hand in glove with Twitter's Washington lobbyists to convince the Biden White House to pressure Twitter to get rid of Berenson. And then the lawsuit against Biden and so forth, and all the way to today where, is it the reckoning we all want? No, but it's something. It's important, and Alex Berenson deserves a lot of credit for going the distance on this. Public service. 312-642-5600, thealphawealthgroup.com. Call and text line if you want to opine on any topic. Let's keep it highbrow by starting with our poet laureate of Chicago's Morning Answer. Of course, that's Joe from Arlington Heights.
Good morning,
Joe.
sir. There is hope. The Alex Berenson story tells us there's hope after all.
Yeah.
This poem is called Empty Chairs. Rand Paul and Ron Johnson ring a silent bell, asking how many lies can one man sell? While a brave whistleblower testifies, the perpetrators insist he lies. This is where we find ourselves now. Sad little man had great authority endowed. The ultimate man of science, as self-proclaimed, his detractors relentlessly defamed, covering tracks with countless lies, not caring how many people died, 2 years of education lost, children's futures not too great a cost. Unelected bureaucrats hide the truth. Media dupes no longer ask nor refute. Senate hearings filled with empty chairs. Half the population doesn't seem to care. Way too much power in D.C. now resides. Office holders graft to friends provide. So much corruption many fail to see. And fools willingly in lies believe. And that's empty chairs.
Very good, Joe. Thank you. Very timely. Well done. That's why he's the poet laureate. Text from 708. What was Aaron's name and the book's name? It's Aaron Brown, and the book, I won't give you the whole title because it's not necessary. Keep it simple. The book title is Wrong Number. Wrong Number, Aaron Brown is the book title and the author. Okay, Robert in Lisle.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Yes, the Dr. Emanuel, I take exception with what he's referring to as people that are aged. You could have presence of mind and be in good health, and it's really moderation. I think you could eat anything you want. I exercise every day. I'm 77 years old, and I was in the store the other day, and somebody said, "Oh, I saw the Purple Heart on your plate," and I told them I'm a Vietnam veteran. Nobody in the store would even believe me because I look like I'm about 50. The problem with Dr. Emanuel is that the brother, he was an appointee that came to Chicago by Barack Obama. And the other thing is that these doctors and people that are out there, the parameters, I'm going to tell you something, I'm an author too, but the parameters of life have to do with what God said. When man got off the boat in the ark, he said, I'm shortening man's life, who lived about 1,000 years, to 120. So the parameters of a person's life does not have anything to do with a doctor's. It does. I mean, they can help people, but the parameters of life are end with what God says, and you go no further. So that's the whole point that I want to make, is that I think that he didn't mention anything about Joe Biden, who was an incapacitated president to a certain degree. I don't think he was 100% like people are trying to portray him, but he should not have been the president. And the fact of the matter is that he was manipulated by a bunch of people that were over him to do the things that happened in our country. And that's a shame, and that was hid from plain view from the people of our country, and that's a gosh darn shame, and you don't want it to happen again. That's my comment.
Thanks for the call, Robert. Speaking of Dr. Zeke's interview, and one of his 6 simple rules for healthy living: don't be a schmuck. And he was talking about don't do high risk things like climb Mount Everest. I like this text from 630. Don't be a schmuck, like leaving a wedding dress chicken cooped in a basement. Yeah, as the basis for your residency to run for mayor. Good times walking down memory lane in Chicago. Kevin in Las Vegas. Are you an advantage gambler?
Hey, Dan, good morning.
Oh, my God. I can't wait. So I got up a little bit late. I can't wait to go back and listen to that segment. It's go time. I'm going to apply that to mainstream life at this point for sure. I wanted to talk about the Why Dan Proft a Single segment. Obviously, it's fantastic. I don't know if you did one today or not. I missed almost the whole show. I'm going to go back and listen. But I know it applies to you in real life, but I think we could take it up a notch. Have you ever seen the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Oh, of course. Great show. Awesome.
Do you know
awesome
about
show.
It's a phenomenal show. Do you know about the Dennis system?
The Dennis system. I have seen that, and it's been a while since I watched It's Always Sunny, so refresh my recollection.
Okay. So no, it's okay. Just do me a favor. Write this down, or just remember it. Whatever. Just when the show's over, or look up on YouTube the Dennis system, and it's the very first thing that pops up. It's only like 5 minutes. Just watch that, and I am going to. I'm actually driving back to Illinois right now. I'll be there. I'm going to come in for the smoker and see you. Very excited about that. And
nice.
I'm going to give you a real life, instead of a Dennis system, we're going to come up with a Proft system.
Really?
So, me and my buddy Alex in Winfield, who I wish he would call you more. We're going to come up with that, and we'll present that to you live on Tuesday.
Is that going to be like the hot versus crazy Matrix, or?
I mean, it's similar. It's basically a way for you to, basically in perpetuity, to keep Dan Proft single and have fun while doing it.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Boy, that could be a book. That could be something. That could be marketable.
You're going to love it.
All right.
I think you're going to love it. And super quick, if I have one more second, what did you think about? I don't know. You haven't talked about it. That Rush performance from a couple weeks ago at those Canadian Music Awards. What did you think?
I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. That's another thing. That's a little more homework for you too. Check it out. Pretty good stuff. The drummer, not bad at all.
I've heard that about her. I mean, that's big shoes to fill, Neil Peart. But yeah, I've heard that she's good.
Huge.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. I don't really watch award shows. One system you can apply too. I was reading this. Apple's Steve Jobs had a conventional way of deciding who got hired. The beer test. Instead of trying to catch candidates with a trick question or quizzing them on the latest iPhone, Jobs would look to answer a simple question. Would he actually enjoy grabbing a beer with them? He would take candidates on an informal walk and talk interview to deliberately test whether they could get along with them outside the office, whether he could get along with the outside office. It wasn't really about alcohol. It was about seeing whether a candidate could drop the corporate act long enough to have an actual conversation and be pleasant to be around, which is somewhat ironic because I understand, and the stories about this are legion, that Steve Jobs was not the most pleasant guy to be around. But, okay, the beer test. You could apply that to the mating game, too. Something else, too, there's a development on this front I did just want to mention because it's only getting worse. It's only going to make it easier. So many people meet on the dating apps. Well, the dating apps, I guess, are going AI, and Bumble is taking the lead. The app will no longer require women to message first in heterosexual matches. They will in non-heterosexual? Okay. So Bumble was women have to move first. They're getting rid of the swipe gamification, and they're going to AI. Bumble is currently testing an AI dating assistant feature called Bee, which will collect data about a user's interests and dating preferences to find more compatible matches. The integration will also power Dates, an AI experience that is designed to help you move from match to meeting without losing momentum along the way. That will also create chapter-based profiles, creating user pages composed of short story sections, so that you get more texture, I guess, more of an identity card, more than an identity card with age, rank, and serial number. The goal, according to the CEO, is to help members tell their stories more authentically and understand one another more deeply. Hey, brother, now I got to write essays? No, thanks. Not happening. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, hey, Dan, I want your opinion on something. Now that the Supreme Court has ruled that gerrymandering by race is unconstitutional, if those districts don't change before the next election, are those votes allowed to be certified?
Well, I mean, the state legislature has to move to do a remap. Otherwise, otherwise the districts are what they are. So the state still retains the map-making power. And so, for example, Jeannie Ives' lawsuit on the Illinois map, if that's not adjudicated before November, then the map, the worst gerrymandered map in America, will be the map that provides the basis for November's elections. So it's a matter of state governments intervening to change the maps consistent with the Supreme Court's holding in Calais. And, that's going to happen on different timelines in different states. And through litigation, if states are recalcitrant, where you obviously have maps that are in violation of the Calais decision, like I would argue, and Jeannie, I think, is successfully arguing, or will successfully argue, like Illinois. Thanks for the call. Rich, North Riverside.
Hi, Dan. I was listening pretty intently to what Hans had to say this morning and, kind of discussing illegals registering and also kind of a lack of progress on the SAVE Act. And I just think that we've got to kind of focus and take more seriously what Donald Trump has already told us about how the 2020 election was stolen. Part of the justification for going into Venezuela was their use of the Kraken to change votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. There was also, Lou Eisenberg, the ambassador to Italy, allowed the Chinese Communist Party to use Italian satellites to zap our elections from space. And now Donald Trump's giving China more chips. I just don't think that the SAVE Act is really a great way to combat any of this, because proof of citizenship doesn't matter if they're zapping our elections from space or with specialized software, like Donald Trump has repeatedly told us.
Well, thanks for the call, Rich. I mean, I don't think one is exclusive of the other. I think the SAVE Act would be productive, but it's not by itself. It doesn't guarantee non-frauded elections, of course, but it certainly is something that would assist, provides another safeguard, if you will. And you're right, there is still activity on this front with respect to 2020. In point of fact, there was a story out yesterday that an FBI agent visited the home of Milwaukee County's election director to question her about the 2020 presidential race. So there is movement afoot, including on the voter rolls issue, cleaning the voter rolls for secretaries of state, Ali Giannoulias, that are not doing their job. Jesse White before him. But this is being litigated again by blue states that don't want to administer clean and free and fair elections like Illinois. So it's a fight. It always was going to be. Roy and Glen Ellen.
Hey, good morning, Dan. First, I remember you mentioning Trump International a couple of weeks ago, and yes, as you were surprised, I was surprised how easy that was for someone to be on the outside when I played. But I have an idea.
Wait, hold on. That's a tough course, isn't it?
Oh, God, ridiculous. How about the 17th? I mean, that was beautiful, but
yeah,
no, I did not do well.
That's a good. I played the worst I've played all season there until this week.
And it's embarrassing there.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of trouble there. But it's beautiful, and they've got some great holes. I mean, it's really a nicely designed course.
And to the whole thing, not a blade of grass out of place, and just beautiful. Anyway, a new segment perhaps. The best of Mike Scottisms, like from the old News Crew. Like I remembered the planes instead of Desplaines. Thought I was visiting Fantasy Island while I was listening to the traffic report.
Yeah, the you're talking about the Mike Scott interregnum where we didn't have Mike Scott. Yes, and we were treated to Illinoisians, and Desplaines and yes, there were some head scratchers there. Thanks for the call, Roy. Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning, Dan. During your conversation with Dr. Emanuel, he was talking about innovation in seniors or elderly or, whatever term he used, above 60. And he said that his comment was that we don't make rules based on the exception for society. So I know this isn't where the conversation was going. That's not the purpose. He kind of let you in on the Obamacare, but I wonder what his stance is on imposing the rules of masks, vaccines, based on the exception, overweight and the elderly. And I'd also like to know his stance on transgender, where we don't make exceptions for society based on the exception. So I'd be curious to know his thoughts on that. I suspect I know where he is or how he might not answer, but I'd just be curious when I hear a guy who's on that platform make that comment. I'd like to hear the other side of that. So thanks. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, good point. Dave in Detroit.
Yeah, hi. Way back on Monday, you were talking to a retired lieutenant colonel, a guy with a real scratchy voice.
Stephen
I've seen that guy before. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I've seen that guy before. I like him. You and him, however, were way too deferential when you were discussing this leftist scumbag, Admiral William McRaven.
Yeah.
We should be calling Admiral McFauci because the left is doing the same thing with this McRaven/McFauci guy that they did with the original Fauci back in 2020. You remember Fauci was presented as I'm working off notes, if you don't mind, I hope.
No, go ahead.
Fauci was presented as a benevolent, apolitical expert. Everybody was deferentially tiptoeing around the guy, just like you and, the Lieutenant Colonel were kind of treating Admiral McFauci on Monday. And can I just give you a couple reasons that I despise this guy so much?
Okay, sure. Get all the poison out, yes.
In August of 2018, this guy called John Brennan a man of unparalleled integrity, whose honesty and character have never been in question. This is August of 2018. By then, we all knew Russian collusion was a lie and that it was being used by guys like Brennan and Admiral McFauci to overturn a legitimate presidential election and destroy the lives of completely innocent people like K.T. McFarland, Carter Page, General Flynn, et cetera, for no other reason than their connection to Trump. Today, this is there's a million reasons I despise this guy. Here's another one. Today, he's being rolled out as an expert on Iran in the same way the original Fauci was rolled out during COVID. Do you know what McRaven/McFauci's big suggestion is on Iran? It's to unilaterally end the blockade on the psychotic inhuman monsters who control Iran today in the hope that they will suddenly become reasonable partners as soon as we give up all our leverage. Now, in all of human history, has that ever worked? Did that work when Israel gave up Gaza? Did it work when Johnson stopped bombing North Vietnam unilaterally? That never works. Anyway, I just wanted to get that, like you say, poison out. I've been holding in since Monday, and I really felt good.
Okay, I'm glad it was cathartic for you. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, you're right. And we talked about McRaven's or McFauci's suggestion about unilaterally ending the blockade, and Stephen Bucci disagreed, pretty pointedly. Rick in LaPorte, Indiana.
Yeah, I think in another week, Illinois is going to lose another company, the Chicago Bears, and then hopefully Brandon Johnson and Pritzker, those two IGMOs, they'll be out of Illinois too.
Thanks for the call, Rick. The Prime Minister.
You have backed off on your commitment to crack pottery, sir.
Okay.
There has not been enough crack pottery in this show. And crack pottery, you stepped over the national holiday of April Fool's Day. You should have opened that show with the picture of Kristi Noem's husband in flagrante delicto. Now, on the subject of crack pottery, I have the solution of how Dan Proft can get married but still have the option of remaining single.
Okay.
Care to hear about it?
Oh, I can't wait.
Alpine divorce. Do you know what it means?
What kind of divorce?
The Alpine divorce.
The Alpine divorce. I'm not familiar with that phrase, no.
You get married to a Kim Cheetle type girl, the former head of the Secret Service, which we saw testify. And then when you're sick of her, if you get sick of her, you go on a long alpine hike, you maybe rock climbing, something like this, and something happens, she never comes back. It's a tried and true approach.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes. All right. Thank you, Prime Minister. Yeah. Okay. All right. Greg in LaGrange.
Hey, Dan. Someone remind me, President Trump is President Trump, really? I mean, sometimes I get confused because two stories stood out this week to me. One is the whistleblower from the CIA who was talking about the whole cover-up with Fauci. And then the CIA comm shop coming out saying, well, you know, this is nothing but political theater.
Mm-hmm.
Where's our guy? Where's John Ratcliffe on this?
I asked the same question, yeah. I asked it again today. I can't wait till he gets back from Cuba because I'd like somebody to ask him that question.
And the second one is, I was reading the Wall Street Journal this week, totally unaware. Marty McCreary stepping down from the FDA. And actually, he's not stepping down. He's being forced out. Why is that? Why?
Well, there were some clashes with the Trump administration over things like vape products, which he wanted to pump the brakes on. The Wall Street Journal actually took him and Vinay Prasad to task. Vinay Prasad, his deputy, who's also out, over some of their alleged recalcitrance in improving drugs, sort of the right to try vein. But there were internal clashes. There were differences of opinion on a number of topics that I guess metastasized. But yeah, I mean, I like Marty too. I'm going to try and get him on the show to see what he's willing to disclose.
Please do.
Yeah,
please do. Because the right to try and the vaping stuff is pretty big stuff too. I mean, this is ridiculous. Thanks, Dan. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Greg. And Chuck in Delavan to close it out.
Hey, I know it's expensive to come up here and stay overnight. You guys are all welcome to come up and sleep on my farm if you sleep in your cars. It's going to be a great weekend this weekend. It's 80s. Come up here, hold hands, fall in love. I'm going to the getaway tonight for all-you-can-eat fish fry. You guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, Chuck. You too. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Monday. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
He says we can't afford a war more than 9,000 miles away. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Trump tells reporters about Taiwan while flying back from his trip to China, which considers the island its territory and warns about a potential confrontation. The president was asked, would the U.S. defend Taiwan if invaded?
There's only one person that knows that. You know who it is? Me. I'm the only